Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the season finale of the Spideydude experience. Season 1 is wrapping up because, well, in today's episode, we're talking about a run wrapping up. That's not all. We're going to be talking about some news and some topics that are pertinent to Spidey's world. But first, we want to give some shout out to our Patreons. For those that are watching the visual aids here on YouTube, you're seeing it up on the screen as we start this. But if you are not seeing it on YouTube and you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting platform, it is now available on all podcasting platforms. It's like Amazon Music and iHeartRadio, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify podcasts. So please leave reviews and give us 5 stars. Tell us what you think about these episodes. So before we get started, I, of course, want to thank our patrons at patreon.com/SpideyNetwork. We got Vinkman, we got Scott, we got Greg, we got Jurgen, and we've got some more because we have a brand new show called Voices from the Eerie, a Gargoyles podcast. So hello, everybody. You get to see my big, giant, recently trimmed beard head. Yeah, so those that are watching us here on YouTube, you get to see my lovely dulcet face. Otherwise, you're listening to my dulcet tones here on your favorite podcasting platform. But of course, we've got a few people that are going to be making it here in just a little bit. First up, we got Greg from the Eerie, the host of Voices from the Eerie, a Gargoyles podcast.
Co-host,
that's right. You have a co-host with Jennifer L. Anderson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, hello to hi, Jen. It's been a long time, but yeah. So you might have recognized them from back when we were doing a Spectacular Radio. So, always glad to have her as a part of the Spideydude Radio Network. We got some people saying hello. Got Elijah Colbert, and we got Greg. Vinkman is yelling Greg. Hi,
Vinkman.
All right. And finally, we got Mysterio took it like a pro himself. Neil has never failed to he's never failed to make something weird in his name. So Matt Auger says, love the first episode of Voices from the Eerie. Greg, I'm looking forward to more as they come. If you want to hear episode 2, you can go on to patreon.com right now and listen to the first 3 episodes. So
4's in the can. We're recording 5 in a bit.
Yeah. So that is so there's 4 episodes in the can, and we've got some of the audio versions of this show and Make My Mayday will be up soon. Neil never fails, period.
Nope.
All right, so
you're gonna love my recaps tonight.
The recaps. All right, so here's what's going on. We got Adam coming on a little bit later. We got Paul coming on a little bit later. They're going to be available. If you're looking at me and you see me, I am freezing my tail off because we got the AC going on. So I am freezing. I am super cold. I also have significantly less facial hair, so I'm obviously colder. I think somebody was commenting that Zach was working on his cane beard, and I took a before image, and I looked slightly homeless. So I'm glad that I finally went and got a haircut last week. So yeah, that's an update on my life.
Hey, a year ago I was looking like Charles Manson.
Yeah, you were. He really was. Trust me. So okay, we're gonna talk about some Spidey news. And Neil, do you need links?
Yeah, give me the links.
All right. So while I'm working on the links, we're going to be doing a brief rundown of the news. We got some new Marvel Legends to talk about.
Speaking of Marvel Legends,
oh yeah, go show them off. If you're watching us on YouTube, in fact, I'm going to blow you up, Greg. If you look over to his right shoulder, that would be the Sentinel attacking the X-Men. So the big Sentinel.
right underneath the previously biggest Marvel legend, Fin Fang Foom.
Yeah, so all right. So we've got some But yes, Marvel. They got some new Marvel Legends. We're going to talk about the retro-carded Marvel Legends. So we got 6 new ones. We got a updated Shocker, a Hammerhead, Hobgoblin, Symbiote Spidey, a Spider Armor Mark 1, but also he's already sold out, folks. Ben
No.
Reilly.
I'm gonna screen share.
Okay, share your screen. All right, so we're scroll down. Let's talk about the Spider Armor first, the one on the very top.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
So this one is kind of weird. He is based on the 4 version of the Spider Armor. So for those that played the PS4 game, it's very much inspired by that. It's kind of an
The Fear Itself armor.
no, this is based off of the Web 100 armor.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Thor. I thought you said the Thor armor. I'm like, wait, what? The Fear Itself suit?
PS4. This armor was seen in the first part of the DLC. It was an extra armor that you got if you completed, I think, The City Never Sleeps or the Black Cat one. It was the second DLC. So, yeah, it's kind of an amalgamation of that suit plus the classic Web of Spider-Man number 100. We got different poses. He looks really good. This looks like a completely new body sculpt. Neil, will you go through the images for me?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So he does have some new effects that are going to be in there, which is kind of cool. Highly posable. Looks like he's kind of based on the sort of the pizza slice, but it's kind of like I say, it's a brand new body. Really cool mold. Very surprised. Not surprised because he's been a very requested figure. Literally, if you're a 90s show guy, though, and it's in the retro packaging. So there's the retro packaging. If you're a 90s show guy, now the only one that's missing is Octo Spidey. So that is the Spider Armor Mark 1. We'll jump over to the Hobgoblin, which was kind of controversial. Not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm on the more negative side of this one.
Yeah, so
he looks like his little beady little eyes.
So the head sculpt, which everybody hoped, there's a lot of people that hoped that the head sculpt would be more of a classic Ron Friends, John Romita version would be out here. It is a reuse of the head sculpt. Also the fact that the arms are not chainmail kind of irked a lot of people, including Greg. And so, but this design is based almost entirely on the 90s show. So if you're looking for that, they've been very inconsistent with the use of 90s show versus comic.
They have. I used to say to people all the time, these figures aren't based on a 90s show, and now a couple of them are. Black Cat, Venom, this one.
There is the Venom that there's the Hasbro PulseCon Venom that is out now. So yeah, he was kind of other controversial one. We'll talk about the other 2 villains of the wave, and then we'll kind of end with the 2 big reviews.
If it had been up to me, there would have been 3 heads for him, and it would have had the chainmail and a more brownish orange instead of the bright orange. You would have a regular Hobgoblin head. You would have a head that's in the shadows with the red eyes, and a Roderick Kingsley head.
Is it these 2?
Yeah, these 2. That'd be the Shocker and Hammerhead. Now,
there's a fly in here. I want to kill it.
Shocker. Oh, look. Yes.
That's a comic Shocker. He's not bright enough to be an animated series Shocker.
So this is the comic book Shocker. Now we had gotten a Shocker, but that Shocker was based on his design was based on the Superior Foes.
Superior Foes.
Yeah, so the Superior Foes Shockers went out for a couple of years. He was part of the Rhino wave? No, Absorbing Man wave. A number of years back. So really looks good. The design of the pattern is sculpted in, and he's a thick boy, so it looks very much reminiscent of the giant.
Damn boy!
He should be thick. He's wearing a quilt.
Yeah, and so the other thing that they also noted is that the gauntlets that come with him are interchangeable So there's no wrist articulation, but that was to preserve the integrity of the fists. So also on retro card. These are all on retro card, by the way.
Oh, I'll keep scrolling. Go to here. Yeah, there we go.
There. So it is again.
They only show the back though. That's weird.
That is weird. They didn't have a shot in the package. That's
You can't escape me.
So
Marvel's vibrator. I'm in shocker. Someone had to.
I was very excited about that figure. But then they revealed this brand new suited Hammerhead. Now he is a little reuse. The suit body is actually from the recent Happy Hogan figure that just came out. But they added the vest and obviously did the pinstripes on the paint application.
To say, it kind of looks a bit like the last Tombstone.
Yeah, kind of. You can actually really make this into a Tombstone figure. The head sculpt is brand new. Now there was a Hammerhead that came out when the Chameleon was released. They released a Hammerhead head swap as well as a Jonah Jameson head swap. So this one, all new, really good looking figure. This looks straight out of Ross Andrew era Spider-Man. Really liking how this figure turned out. Again, can't wait to add it to the collection on this one.
I'm gonna give him the Tommy gun that came with the last Chameleon figure.
Absolutely, I think that's very wise. Once again, no front packaging on it for some reason. So, and all right, so now the big two, obviously, are a re-release of
a re-release of a peg-warming Loki.
Yeah, a re-release.
Glorious Purpose.
Yeah. Scroll back down to the symbiote.
Which one are we talking about first?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about symbiote. We're ending with Ben. We have to end with Ben. Like that's the main event.
Only Zach gets to be happy these next few months.
Okay.
Hey, JM DeMatteis. I might be happy too.
Listen, we'll talk about J.M. DeMatteis' return to Spider-Man in a little bit. But okay, so this one, obviously, this was the first figure that was actually revealed on the wave. They actually had a YouTuber reveal this one. This is the Symbiote Spidey. And if you're a classic Symbiote Spidey fan, this is using, the big thing about this is using the new body mold from the retro wave Spider-Man. And this absolutely looks fantastic.
This slaps.
There's a reason that it's already sold out. It has obviously been one of those that has been very quickly sold out at Hasbro polls. It just really looks good. This is a unique wave, and I'll talk about that in a minute, about why this is such a unique wave. But yeah, this one really, really, everybody was very excited for. And then, we kind of thought, oh, we're getting two Spideys. Nope.
We have the crown jewel of the collection. Boy.
This one, I was not surprised. This is probably the easiest one to have made. I'm not surprised that it was done this soon, but Marvel Legends Spider-Man, the Ben Reilly suit, is a slightly different head sculpt, but the rest of it is, obviously new classic retro Spidey mold. It'll forever be called the retro Spidey mold. I wish the eyes were a little bigger. That's just my personal preference. I like bigger eyes, especially with Ben. But
the Bagley eyes would have been a bit, but the head also seems a little small.
It does seem a little. It does seem a little small.
I think Symbiote Bro mentioned like he was. Was it Symbiote Bro or was it Venkman? He was planning on taking his. Oh, it might have been Javi actually. He mentioned taking his Ben off the head off his other Ben and putting it on this one.
And they should easily fit. The big thing that's notable about this one, that is, as well as the Symbiote Spidey, is that they actually did include the wall crawling hands this time. They did not do that in the original retro Spidey, and it upset a lot of people because that was as close to perfection as you can get. So there's a little bit with the paint. I would have made the top two legs a little thinner. That's just me. The space
Box art looks perfect though.
The box art looks fantastic. But I will have multiple versions of. I will have multiple of these figures, of that figure especially. I'll definitely be buying the whole wave, and then I'm going to buy Ben Reilly and keep one in package because
Ben Reilly Agit prop.
it would probably add an extra one and do a giveaway with it. So stay tuned on that.
I cannot wait to see your new office space as your backdrop when you get home.
Yeah, it's gonna be nice whenever I finally.
No, I messaged Zach because he and I are supposed to be getting drinks when he comes back to our neck of the woods, and I'm like, and I read ASM 74, and I was like, hey man, you want to get that drink a little earlier?
So obviously tonight we're covering the final 2 issues of Spencer's run, but like I said, we're getting these news topics out of the way. So the next thing I want to talk about is let's talk about this whole Marvel suing.
Wasn't it like the Ditko Estate did it first and then they did it back, or I don't know.
Let me pull this up.
Who is the Ditko Estate now? He wasn't married. He had no kids.
It's like it's his brother, I think, and
it's his nephew. His brother had passed. I think his brother may have passed away, and it's actually his nephew.
Oh, okay.
I think it's the guy that friend of the show, Brad, actually. Oh well, no, that can't do that because that's different times. Hide that behind. All right, so the yeah. Oh,
do you want to end? Oh, I need to send the new link. Sorry.
Yeah, there's the new link. All right.
Hey, Adam.
Hello.
Sorry, you were tucked behind my little bar here with that mute, stop cam,
Okay,
all that.
It's all good.
I'm sharing the new screen.
So Paul is here. He's just not here yet. And all right, so this is from the Hollywood Reporter. For those that are listening to us on the audio version, I'll kind of excerpts from it. You can find this business section of HollywoodReporter.com. So Disney's Marvel unit is suing to hold on to full control of Marvel's Avengers characters, including Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Falcon, Thor, and others. The complaints, which Hollywood Reporter has obtained, come against the heirs of some late comic book geniuses, including Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, and Gene Colan. The suit seeks declaratory relief that these blockbuster characters are ineligible for copyright termination as works made for hire. If Marvel loses, Disney would have to share ownership of these characters, which is worth billions. In late August, the administrator of Ditko's estate filed a notice of termination on Spider-Man, which first appeared in comic book form in 1992. Under termination provisions of copyright law, authors or their heirs can reclaim rights once granted to publishers after waiting a statutory set period of time. According to the termination notice, Marvel would have to give up Ditko's rights to its iconic character in June of 2023.
So real quick, I just want to point this out. I think that back in the 1990s, Disney did some legal screwery that let them extend copyright. They're the ones who extended copyright beyond its original expiration date. And so I believe Spider-Man, now that it's owned by Disney, is it's grandfathered in as a Disney property.
It's one of those weird situations because of the fact that Disney acquired Marvel. So there is precedent for this. They're being represented by Mark Toberoff, who once famously represented Superman creators Siegel and Joe Shuster in an unsuccessful termination attempt against DC. DC staved off termination by counterclaiming against Toberoff and asserting torturous interference of its rights.
Oh no! Imagine the fucking rat company being oppressed by two people.
The publisher was
Edit it out.
Petro Celli at Mavini, who just so happens to be representing Disney now in its efforts rights of various Avengers. There's several lawsuits being filed in New York and California against Lieber, Don Heck, Patrick Ditko, who is the nephew of Steve Ditko, Don Rico, and Keith Duttweiler. The cases will focus on the creation of comic book characters who should be deemed the statutory author. The litigation figures to focus on the Marvel method, the loose collaboration working atmosphere where the initial ideas were briefly discussed with artists responsible for taking care of the details. Marvel method has been the subject of prior litigation, such as a dispute a decade ago over Ghost Rider, which did win.
Real quick, Mike's in the chat, and he said that I am correct, and that's how Disney still has Mickey Mouse as a copyright.
Yeah, it is. So Neil, hi Michael. That is correct, Neil. That's how Disney still holds a copyright to Mickey Mouse, even though he should have been public domain in '86.
Steamboat will be celebrating its 100th anniversary in a few years.
Also, I just realized that you said Toblerone, and I keep thinking of like this giant Toblerone of a man, like a giant triangle chocolate bar. That's a terrifying thought.
That is him.
By the way, Ryan, I didn't see this until just now. I'm so sorry. His wife Melissa had a seizure today, so he couldn't jump in. So that's very, very sad. Sorry about that, Ryan. One knowledge that we'll continue to keep your wife in our prayers. I know she's been struggling with that for a little while. So back to this. That's a very bad segue. So sorry, Ryan.
Also, wait, hold on. Also,
anyways,
hi
back to the.
He said hi to me.
Oh, by the way, we have Adam on. I said you'd be on later, and here you are. Welcome.
Technically, you were correct that it was later.
That was a few minutes.
You know, you're on mute, but I can already loving this vibe. Top notch facial expression. So yeah, all right. So Toberoff has a lot of experience doing this type of case. Almost a decade ago, he represented the estate of comic book legend Jack Kirby over whether he could terminate copyright grant on Spider-Man, X-Men, The Incredible Hulk, and Mighty Thor. In August of 2013, the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed a lower court ruling that determined that Kirby's heirs couldn't wrest back his share of rights to these characters because the former Marvel freelancer contributed his materials as a work made for hire. The case was then petitioned up to the Supreme Court with the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg signaling some interest in taking up the case. Marvel, at the time, fought hard against any high court review before the justices decided, the case was finally settled. So basically, one of the reasons that you'll see Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, basically by giving them co-creator credit on a lot of this stuff, that's been kind of.
And Ditko, all the ASMs say co-created by both of them.
Yeah, and I think they've been doing that really since the beginning of the films.
Yeah.
So, I know that there's a story that was circulating around with Ditko that he got a pretty good royalty check from Sony, not from Marvel, but from Sony for his contributions to the character. So, yeah. We got so Paul, aka Comic Bench. By the way, check out the Comic Bench podcast and broadcasts on Thursday nights, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. So that's the Comic Bench. If you're getting in the YouTube chat, that's who that is. Hello, Paul. But yeah, so like I say, this is basically, if the planets win, Disney expects to hold on to at least a share of the character right as co-owners. The studio would have to share profits with the others. Additionally, the termination provisions of copyright law only apply in the United States, allowing Disney to continue to control and profit from foreign exploitation. Whew, what a use of words for that one. I mean,
I'm not.
Oh, do I need to scroll down? Oh, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
I should have gone to law school.
Right.
I don't think I could have taken. I just got out of college. I don't think I could go back. Greg, you're a fool. Don't do it.
I'm not.
Okay, thank you.
So okay,
basically, too long didn't read. The Ditko family should get a big fat check for Spider-Man No Way Home because two prominent characters of Ditko's are in it, and yeah, they should profit from that. There you go.
No, here's my take on this. Imagine taking the side of the frickin' Mouse Corporation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's kind of fun fact: the Copyright Extension Act, also known as the Mickey Mouse Protection Act or the Sonny Bono Act. That's right.
Yeah.
Congress at one point.
I got you, babe.
Oh, he did.
Hang on, I'm gonna grab my copy of ASM 74. I'm gonna do a little dance on my way out.
He got something. It was called the Pine Tree.
Oh.
I went there, didn't I? Okay, so let's talk about okay. So what everybody's thoughts? I didn't really go around the room. We kind of just breezed through those two topics. One, what do you guys think about the action figures? I'll start with Greg. Your collection speaks for itself. So,
Hammerhead and
are you getting all of them? Or are you just going to get a few?
Only a few. I'm skipping Hobgoblin, but I am getting Shocker and Hammerhead, and I pre-ordered the Armored Spidey and the Ben Reilly, and I missed out on Symbiote Spidey, but I hope you get another shot at him. So,
Venkman makes a good point about the Hobgoblin one. I agree this Hobgoblin is a disappointment, but I sold my original Hasbro Hobgoblin, and he currently goes for $150 on eBay, and I'm not paying that price to rebuy him, so he's getting the new one.
You probably can't see mine, but he's back there facing off against Mayday, and it's the Hasbro Hobgoblin, yeah.
Yeah.
I put him on a Toy Biz glider.
The Toy Biz, I'll say this, Toy Biz Hobgoblin, if head fit, it would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah, but the figure is way too tall. Way too tall.
Yeah, he's very, very tall. But
I don't think Roderick Kingsley is a very big man.
All right, Neil, thoughts on the figures? Are you going to get any of them? Your next figure is at my house.
I was about to say no. I'm still waiting for the one that you got me.
Yeah, it's literally sitting on my kitchen counter right now. For the record. Also, I have your poster, so I have multiple things of yours.
That's true. I forgot about that. I think Javi actually was it the ASM 55 one.
Javi's getting two posters.
I'm getting two of them.
Oh, did you already buy one?
No, Javi got me one.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
I could trade because I was going to give him the nonstop Spider-Man one. So if you want the nonstop Spidey, since you already have the 55, then I'll give him the 55. If you're fine.
Sure. I've got the 55. It's still I haven't found it. It's over there on that hutch or that thing over there.
Yeah. You're gonna have to move the quilts to put it up on the wall.
Well, I'm not gonna put it up in here. I'm gonna put it in my room. But
oh, okay. I'm Jesus.
This is my little office.
All right. So where do we go from here? Adam.
Yeah.
What do you think of the new fix? Do you care?
I mean, I kind of care because they all look
kind of
good.
care.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I didn't buy any of the ones from the last, the initial wave.
You're saving yourself a lot of money.
Yeah,
really.
I mean, it's a disease, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Once you get one, you just can't get one.
I could probably get one. All I really need is like a Spider-Man or like the retro one. I thought looked really good.
Zach, can I offer a loophole?
Yeah.
If someone else gets them for you, you don't have to buy them, and therefore you avoid the curse.
No, I happened to hide one at my old Walmart for like forever, and then I finally was like about to leave that Walmart. And I was like, I haven't been able to see any. I got him the Cyclops, from the House of X version of Cyclops, because that's his like mascot for Wogan Rider Variety Hour. So anyway, continue on, Adam.
But I do the new ones. I like the black suit one, and I like the armor one, and the Ben one looks good. I do agree that maybe he should have bigger eyes because he had big eyes throughout the 90s. Yeah, that's what the Mafex figure is for.
Yeah, the Mafex it looks really good. The other thing I'll say, I do feel like
the black suit Mafex looks really good too.
Oh, both of them. Yeah.
The only problem with the Mafex figures is the QC is not what it should be. I mean, I looked out with my Mafex Spidey, but I've heard stories about other Mafex figures falling apart if you breathe on them.
I'll say this. So I have a Mafex. It's at my house. but I think I ended up getting a knockoff because I started looking at the package. No, there's one specific way to know if it's a knockoff or if it's not, and that specific way is if there's a sticker is holographic. The holographic sticker, if it's on there, that is an official Mafex. If it's not got a big sticker on it, it is a knockoff. Now, some cases the knockoffs are just fine. I have had a ton of QC problems with my
Hang on.
Mafex. So that the Mafex for me looks great, love it, but I have a hard time keeping him together. So, hello, Janelle Turner. Yeah. So yeah, that's I've been trying to build up because obviously we want to talk about the big announcement. There's going to be another ongoing or another miniseries, excuse me. But I'm kind of waiting for Paul to get here to do that. So I'm excited about that. All right, so let's go around the horn about this particular story. Greg, what do you think about the heirs getting the deciding to sue? It is big news.
I think that Ditko, Kirby, and a lot of these people have been treated like crap by Marvel and then by Disney for years. I think they deserve big fat checks. I am not necessarily in favor of giving them ownership or co-ownership, but give them something. Give them a big something. I mean, I realize this could be seen as just buying them off, but you know, these big megacorps have taken advantage of people for years, and it's hard for me to feel sympathy for the Disney Corporation over this. They've done everything they can to make all their contracts ironclad, to own everything.
Yeah. They've done a lot of acquisitions over this decade, especially.
Mm-hmm. And to extend copyright laws. I mean, like I said or alluded to earlier, we're coming up on the 100th anniversary of Steamboat Willie in a few years. That should be public domain.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting because, you know, there's never been something along these lines that has lasted as long as Disney's been able to do. And so for me, I completely understand how frustrating it is that we have, you know, these things that are lasting the length of time. But I also feel like that it would be nice to be able to not, you know, fear the copyright police with these things as they, you know, we're about to get to 60 years of Spider-Man. I mean, at what point do we continue going down this path? It is an interesting dichotomy.
I mean, Marvel wouldn't have been able to do, say, Tomb of Dracula or have their Dracula character if he never fell into the public domain.
Very true. Yep.
Very true.
Or Disney itself. I mean, how many other movies are based on stories that have fallen into the public domain long ago?
Exactly.
Yeah, they made a career out of it. I mean, tell us what you think in the comments section below. Adam, your thoughts on this?
I definitely think that the creators need to get something. Like, these characters, especially in the past decade with the MCU blowing up, they're iconic now. They're, you know, they're bigger than anything, and the creators deserve something. Yeah, and Disney shouldn't be holding that back. I don't think it's not a good look. But, you know, I'm all for big fat checks. I'm all for credit where credit's due. I mean, I feel like that is supposed to be the American dream, if we still believe in that concept. So,
oh boy, we can get deep and philosophical here. But I think that they need to be fairly compensated. I mean, it past time. The fact is, especially with the artist side, and look, I love Stan. Stan and I share a birthday. I love Stanley. Stanley is like my grandpa. He's like everybody's grandpa. All right.
Yeah.
That's
how we got you.
without Stan, there is no Marvel. Without Steve,
True.
John, and Jack, and especially Jack. I mean, Jack and Steve. I mean, you can pretty much rest your laurels that those were the two guys that created everything. Larry Lieber, I think, needs to be fairly compensated for his contributions. We can go. The artists themselves needed to be. They were very underpaid for what they did. The heavy lifting that they were able to do, and some of it was purely survival. If you go back, either listen on Audible or read Marvel: The Untold Story, it really does. It doesn't paint Stan in the best light, because Stan doesn't need to be painted in the best light. But it also was purely survival instinct when it comes to how they were doing things and how things were being produced back then. No one ever imagined all of everything that's happened with Stan for the last, with the MCU and the Raimi films and the Fox films. They didn't imagine it would be anywhere level this big. I mean, it's the greatest. It's the best. It's the renaissance of the Marvel age in the current thing. So, we're talking about.
We're still on the thing.
Yeah, we're still on the copyright thing. So, what is your thoughts overall? What do you think? You're an artist, so from your perspective, I'd like to see what you think about how this is.
So I'm kind of, if not totally, mostly on the people who are suing side. I know it's not just Ditko. There's a bunch of other families in there. I think was Kirby's estate in there.
Kirby, okay. The Kirby case was separate. It was not. It's not bundled in with this. The Kirby estate has already settled with Disney.
Okay. Oh, Petrocelli is filing several suits against Lieber, Heck, Ditko, Rico, and Detweiler, right?
Yeah. Basically.
Also, I have cake.
Oh, nice. It is a celebration date. Is it the end of season?
It's my mom's birthday. So.
Well, happy birthday to Neil's mom.
Hey, Mom! Birthday. Zach says happy birthday. She doesn't care. Okay.
Oh, man.
Over the TV.
Oh.
What a
man.
Sure. All right. So,
okay. Anyways, you actually want my actual opinion on this?
I do want your actual opinion, sir.
Okay. Imagine taking the side of the frickin' mouse in this situation.
Listen, it's very hard for anybody to decide with Disney in this case. I get it, but the fact is that they've been even before Disney owned this. Okay, if this was still just Marvel Entertainment Corporation.
Yeah, I would still be taking the creator side. I am all for creator rights.
Right. I mean, it's a big reason Image was created, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
As someone who draws, that Zach brought that up for a reason. As someone who draws and writes, I do like my own art on my free time when I'm not in when I'm not on my job. But and I write, and Zach knows all this. But I am very much a labor rights person, and a person should have. I hesitate to say the means of consumption, but
Carl,
Carl, that kills people. But as someone who is very in touch with the plight of the working man, I am very much in support of the Ditko family and the other states that are being sued against. I think that Disney gutted copyright law back in the 1980s. I think that's the exact date, 1986, when that Mike brought up the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. Yeah. I think that's the exact day that copyright law in the U.S. was gutted.
It was.
Imagine what I could do with Spider-Man in 2023 when he's public domain now.
Yeah.
And look, I get them wanting to have control over the official canon. Don't misunderstand. But compensate the people that got you to the dance. Without Dick, there's no Spider-Man.
Yeah, because Ditko's point, was like, well, what do people really know? And it's the image. The image is everywhere. The costume is everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, and Mike brings up
how these characters look is everywhere.
Yeah.
And Mike brought up a good point in the chat that like work for hire contracts, not only because they didn't last long, because labor rights in the U.S. were basically on the road to being gutted completely.
Yeah, there's a lot of historical stuff that we can get into about what was going on in the 1960s that was partially responsible for the malaise of our economy in the 70s. But to say it so that way our listeners understand what we're talking about, one thing to keep in mind is that the reason the original work for hire contracts in the 1960s were so bad is that everybody thought these characters would last long. And that's absolutely true. Everybody, really, from 1962, and again, if you read Marvel's The Untold Story, it tells the tale quite a bit. By 1979, everybody was shocked that Marvel was still producing comics. Like the fact that comics were still being published at that point.
Yeah, everyone who says like, oh, comics now are why comics are dying, you weren't around for the comics code.
Right.
Everything that has happened in comics since then has led to the downturn of the industry can be blamed on the comics protection code or the comics code authority.
Yeah, well, look, the comics code was a necessary evil. And when you look at the 60s and you look at this, everything that was published from the time it was basically from World War II through 1962, and then you look at from the beginning of the Marvel Age all the way through till the death of Gwen Stacy, really at the end of the Silver Age, and the beginning of the Bronze Age. The beginning of the Bronze Age wasn't just Gwen Stacy; it was around that same time that they finally were able to loosen those restrictions on the comic code. So if you're, go back and look at what
you weren't allowed to show drugs.
I mean, you weren't allowed to talk about it. It wasn't until almost 100 issues into Spider-Man, issue 96 was the infamous drug issue. Despite the best part about this was that the government of the United States was the ones that came to Stan Lee and said, "Hey, can you do an anti-drug store?"
Yeah.
And then
their own legislation prevented it.
The entity that they set up to prevent them from going too far and basically destroyed the horror comic industry.
Yeah, definitely.
Was preventing them from fulfilling a request by the United States government. Now, if that doesn't tell you how bad bureaucracy can be, I don't know what is. I don't know what to tell you. But it's hilarious. The very same entity that was wanting him to produce this anti-drug comic couldn't do it because of the very entity that they set up to prevent and to basically save the industry. The comic code both killed a good chunk of the industry, but also kept it partially alive and put it on life support, despite the best efforts. It's a fascinating period, and it's often just kind of marginalized, especially like if you watch the Disney Plus stuff, the Assembling a Universe documentary. They kind of just poo-poo the comic code, and I kind of blame that because Bill Jamis came in and was like, "Why are we still adhering to something that was written in 1960 or 1970? We're still using this archaic code. Why?" His reasoning was pretty sound, but he was obviously not a comic historian, didn't understand the need and the reasoning behind it. And so, when they were breaking the toys, so to speak, to use a Ditko phrase, because that was something that Ditko liked to use quite a bit, lambasting Marvel creatively, talking about, he hated them breaking the toys. It is interesting to see that. So definitely one of those things that we could probably spend an entire episode going into the entire McCarthyism era hearings that were being done because of comic books. A good friend of the show, Michael Bailey, he used to have these clips from like the 60s talking about comic books. That's for the contributing to the delinquency of the
the degenerate homosexuals.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick.
Always be blaming something. What are they blaming today?
Oh, let's not even go there.
TikTok? I don't even know.
The Tiki Talks in the Instagram.
You're gonna get me on my rant.
So real quick, can we talk about the 9/11 backup?
Okay, yeah. So this
I just remember because it's an ASM 73. So
this needs to be discussed because it's not worth like.
Oh no, I'll talk about it during the recap. I've got a little thing for it.
For those that don't know, there is one issue of Amazing Spider-Man, issue 36, volume 2, aka 477.
And for the
We
record,
don't do that
J.
here.
Michael Straczynski donated his entire salary for that one to charity.
Yeah, so this was
Nice.
that was yeah.
Based.
So there was a 9/11 tribute issue that occurred, and it kind of delayed the publishing of a couple of other ASM comics for a couple months because it literally, obviously, the 9/11 attacks. We just had the 20th anniversary from when we're recording this. So if you're listening to this a year from now, this is just the context. So the week that ASM 73 came out was, I think, either the week before or the week of the 20th anniversary. So to honor that, they brought back John Romita Jr., who has not drawn. I think he just started drawing a couple issues of Fantastic Four. So this is amongst.
He's only done one.
He
only did number 35.
So he did the one issue of Fantastic Four. He's been slowly easing his way back into the swing of things at Marvel. They just announced earlier this summer. We talked about it here on the show. For those that have not heard that, go back in the audio archives and you'll hear us discuss that. So Jazzy John Jr. is back. They do a 6-page backup.
Yeah, I'll talk about it later, but basically it's like a little follow up.
It's a follow up to the original tribute issue. Does the tribute issue amount to canon? Sliding time scale says no.
Oh, let's talk about that. I'll talk about that in my recap
Before we do
too.
that, on a personal note, guess where I went last Thursday? Zach saw the photos.
Yeah, I've
Ground
seen.
Zero?
He went to One World Trade Center.
Yeah, I went to the observation deck of the New World Trade Center.
Is it
Beautiful
cool?
view.
I've never seen photos of the inside of the building.
It's actually
Is it-
quite cool. There's a restaurant. The food there is actually pretty good. There's
Oh.
a gift shop, of course. There's a bar. It's beautiful up there. A beautiful view. On a
Is it-
clear day, you can see.
Now, obviously, they're not going to call it top of the world.
But no, they don't. But it feels like it.
Okay.
And on a clear day, you
Yeah,
can see
probably has that
43
same
miles. Yeah. On a clear day, you can see 43 miles in any direction.
That's crazy. It is the
And-
tallest building in New York, 1,700.
And it was tallest building in the Western Hemisphere right now.
Yep, that's true.
And it was relatively easy to get in. There weren't that many lines, which is amazing because 4 hours before I went, Harry and Meghan were there.
Dang.
About Harry at this point.
Personally, I don't, but
I am
a lot
so
of people
sick
do.
of those two. I'm so sick of those
Mhm.
two whiny, entitled pissants. That's what
I
they are.
agree with you.
Tell us how you feel.
I get so sick of.
You're rich. You're not working for your country. Pay for your own bodyguards. You can afford it.
Listen,
You're
The house-
billionaires.
are billionaires. You chose to leave your little clique, and then you're mad when you leave the little clique. Listen,
I did not mean for this.
This
to
should be
happen.
the
I did
new
not
title.
mean for
This
this
should be the
to
new title of the podcast. Zach rants about the
Yes.
royal family and other Thomas and Friends stories.
I may have to clip this and put this as like a Spideydude bit because
God.
I just listen. I
okay, Gramps, look at you back into the home.
especially because I look like I have a parka on because I got this comforter. As Fakeman says in the chat, that escalated quickly.
I did
So-
not mean
so
to
wait, what
start that.
else-
I was not trying to.
What else do we have to talk about?
Well, listen. Let's kind of talk a little.
I'm just trying to keep your blood pressure down. I'm moving the conversation away.
I know that we got 10 minutes till Paul shows up. So we're trying.
The elevators got up there in 44 seconds from the lobby to the
Damn.
observation deck.
You
at the
literally
top.
pull your phone out to see how fast it was.
No, they have a timer right up there in the elevator.
What?
This is new tech. These are turbine elevators.
That's like
Sure, okay.
They brag about this new elevator technology. They are not hoisted by cables.
Well, I mean,
Oh,
listen,
wow.
for the amount of time and money that it took to build that son of a bitch, I'm not surprised that they would do something fancy like that.
But I'm a New Yorker, and even though I wasn't down there on the actual
Very
20th
impatient.
anniversary date, I felt like at least for the 20th anniversary month, I should go.
Oh, I can't imagine how crazy it was.
I wouldn't have gotten near it on the date. On the date, I'm sure there were dignitaries, visitors. I'm sure the president was there for the 20th anniversary. I mean, everyone would have been there on the actual date. So no.
Who goes on a date to the World Trade Center?
I actually think it's a great place for a first date.
I mean,
No,
listen,
it just.
I mean, there's a bar
sounds,
and a restaurant,
okay,
so
I am not wrong here though, saying that it's really weird to go on a date to the place where a terrorist attack
Right.
happened.
listen,
yeah.
because hey, you have to.
That's also one of the reasons why I went there, so I could
Don't
say,
do
and I don't
first.
think
You're the
that's also one of
terrorist.
the reasons why I wanted to do it, so I can say fuck.
I
Bin
feel like
Laden.
Zach.
He's
I
dead,
feel
but
like
don't
Greg is
care.
speaking just so Zach can't.
All I got to say is if you don't take your first date there, the terrorists win. All right, the terrorists win.
If you don't take your first date there, Al Qaeda will steal your girlfriend.
Hey, George, I believe
It's
George is in
ye.
town.
It's
believe
Yee
George-
season for Yeehad.
Hey, I believe George is in town for the 20th anniversary.
It was. I just the Al Qaeda. God, this episode. What a season!
There's gonna be some really good clips though.
Oh Jesus!
Oh,
Oh,
man.
Lord, I apologize.
Don't apologize. This is great.
Don't apologize. I never do. Okay, Norman.
Yeah, it's,
As he walks
But
away,
he
from
did.
the line.
Today,
Yeah,
he did apologize.
yeah, Norman
talking
does
about- we'll talk about
apologize
that.
today.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that. Obviously,
Oh,
the
boy.
big main event of the episode is going to be us doing this review. But we wanted to get the news topics in this first, as as Vinkman so aptly put it. Oh, good God! Does the elevator run on dilithium crystals?
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's from Star Trek. Zach.
I know.
Ew, I was like dilithium crystals. I'm so lost. And even
Turbines. Although I didn't finish the story about the elevators. If the wind gets too strong, the elevators shut down for safety reasons, which happened while we were up there. So we had to take the freight elevator down to the 90th floor, take another elevator down to the 60th floor, and then another elevator down to the lobby. So we got the full experience. We got to see what the employees.
So many stairs.
So
Too
wait.
many floors.
So wait, we spent 6 no more language barrier. We spent 6 fucking years designing this damn thing. We spent 6 years for it being at one point it was called the Freedom Tower. Freedom Tower.
I'm glad they didn't
Only
call
for
it
them
that.
to create an elevator system
Freedom, hell yeah, brother.
that literally cannot work in the wind.
No, it's
Is that what
always
you're
windy,
saying?
but if it gets too windy, because it was raining that day also, so there was a bit of a storm in town.
Zach, I'm going to be honest. If you think that if you think that an elevator should function in like a hurricane, we might have a serious problem in design logistics here.
Well, listen, it should at least have redundancy built in to where you could still use it.
During a hurricane? Oh wait, no.
They had the backups.
I mean,
And I
they
like
did.
getting to see getting to see what the employees use.
He wants to know what the peons use. See,
He wants to know what the proletariat uses.
the peasants will still have to wear the masks. Meanwhile, the elites don't have to. Sorry, I was flashing
Yeah,
back.
pretty much.
Sorry, the Met Gala kind of gave me
Yeah.
kind of triggered me a little. They have
You'll have eventually the proletariat will rise up and shove the
Yeah.
gullet of the shove the pro bourgeoisie's gullet down their own throats.
I'll say this:
Yes.
it was a beautiful
Yep.
experience. I do recommend it, and I would go again.
There's a
Should I
part.
go to New York? Should I go to
Take
New
your
York?
girlfriend or your husband or your wife. Your boyfriend.
Otherwise,
Yeah,
Al Qaeda will steal them.
Yes.
Too soon, considering what just happened in Afghanistan, Neil.
Oh
God.
God.
Oh well.
You're such a dick. Neil.
Oh,
Now the Zach Joyner experience.
Spideydude is dead. Spideydude is dead. Long live Zach Joyner.
Yeah. Oh god. All right. So obviously, I've waited as long as I can. We're gonna get
Let's
started.
start talking about. Yeah, let's talk about that, and Paul will jump in, and he'll probably give his 2 cents at the end.
So I'm sending you. No, I don't want to. I'm gonna send you the official from Marvel.com.
The Marvel press release.
All right. So it is official. We are getting a second Ben Reilly title, at least a miniseries. No
one but Zach was happy.
Oh, stop! There was
That'd be
actually
cool.
I'm happy.
there was an overwhelming response to this. So it is legendary comic book writer J.M. DeMatteis, or J.M. DeMatteis, some people call it tomato, returns to Marvel with Ben Reilly, Spider-Man. A new series coming in January will tell the untold adventures of Ben Reilly's time as Spider-Man. J.M. DeMatteis, writer of influential Spider-Man stories such as Kraven's Last Hunt and Spider-Man: The Lost Years. Ironically, put that one in there. Will make a celebrated return to Marvel Comics this January with Ben Reilly,
I'm
Spider-Man.
screen sharing.
You're screen sharing? All right.
Mhm.
So Neil is pulling this up. This is from Marvel.com. The iconic Spider-Man scribe will reveal new stories in the life of Peter Parker's clone, Ben Reilly, during his time as Spider-Man. DeMatteis will be joined by X-Factor and Domino artist David Baldeón as they unlock new secrets about this fan-favorite hero. In the same vein as Peter David and Greg Land's hit Symbiote Spider-Man series, Ben Reilly's Spider-Man will explore thrilling new mysteries set in this classic time in Spider-Man history. The cover, for those that do not know, may not remember this guy's name. If you're a Clone Saga Chronicles fan, you've heard us talk about him. Steve Skaros returning to Marvel to do this cover. So
His style has changed a lot if you look at his work now.
I literally thought this was Todd Knock. I'm not.
No, I can confirm this. I think it was in the Discord chat.
Yeah, I think I said it was Todd Knock, and then somebody corrected me. So darkness looms over New York City as murders begin to pile up, but how are they all connected? Meanwhile, a mysterious figure from Ben's past has crawled his way back into Ben's life. Does Ravencroft Institute for the Criminally Insane hold the key to their identity? So here's what DeMatteis had to say about spinning his webs within the Spidey mythos once more. What I've always found fascinating about Ben Reilly is that he's Peter Parker, and yet he's not. Life has taken Ben on a strange, twisted path and altered him, sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Like Peter, he's a man who's constantly striving to do the right thing, even if he doesn't always succeed. Ben is wonderfully, painfully human, immensely relatable, and our new Ben Reilly Spider-Man allows me to dive even deeper into Ben's psyche to explore him in new and, I hope, interesting ways. Having David Baldeón bringing this story to visual life has been the icing on the cake. David's work is incredibly dynamic and fluid and powerful. He nails the big moments. We've got some major antagonists going up against Ben, but he always holds tight to the character's humanity so that even the smallest, quietest moments shine and have resonance. It's been a true joy returning to the Spider-Verse and reuniting with my old friend, Ben. So, written by DeMatteis, art by David Baldeón, Steve Skaros, and David Stewart did do the cover art. It starts this January. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start with Greg. I already know this is a day one purchase for you.
Yes, it is. I honestly, I could not be more excited. I never thought I would see anything like this, especially with J.M. DeMatteis at the helm. It's Marvel has its issues still to this day, but I feel like it's more friendly to older fans like you and I than it has been in a very long time.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Neil.
I'm actually kind of interested. I made a joke that no one but Zach cares, but I'm actually kind of looking for. I hesitate to say looking for, but I'm cautiously optimistic about this. I think J.M. DeMatteis has a wider hit to miss ratio than most. I like David Baldeón. I've liked his work on X Factor and Domino. Yes, did he ever do Spider-Man before? Because I feel like Baldeón did Spider-Man.
I feel like he did, but I can't remember.
Yeah, it's
I thought the art looked familiar, but I think it's the colorist actually, because the colorist I saw worked on some of the stuff like that Jerry Conway thing, Spiral. I almost thought it was that guy who was doing the art for this, but it wasn't him. And then the colorist also did work on the Scarlet Spiders series. I was like, this something about it just looked familiar to me, but it was just the colors. I guess colors matter, people. All right.
Yeah. So.
Oh, Israel Silva. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? Where do we go from here?
I mean, I think James DeMatteis speaks for himself, and the art looks great. And if it's just a little mini series with maybe a little more, I think it's I think being a little more than cautiously optimistic is works. I guess I'm up for it. We're basically going to talk about it on this show, right? So I mean, I don't mind.
we're gonna So allow me to make something clear. I would love the guys from CSC on to talk about this, but I did when this was announced. I think all of us were pretty excited because this is, I was talking with a good friend of the show, Kevin Cushing. Hello, Kevin. And I said,
"Hi, Kevin."
Hi, Kevin. I don't know you, but hi, Kevin. I mean, I know him.
I know Kevin. He's a good guy.
So he was like, dude, I'm not like, I've been doing everything Marvel Unlimited, but I am buying this. This is going to be bought because this needs to be in my collection. And I feel the same way. If I was, a wayward Ben Reilly fan, this is something to draw me in. I'm curious to see how they're going to how things are going to tie in to this. Obviously, we'll talk about
the current stuff.
The current stuff, but throwing that in there, to me, this is icing on the cake. I mean, Steve Scaros bringing him in, that's a deep cut, guys. Like I didn't think he was still drawing comics. I mean, he was doing work.
Is.
And I'll definitely talk more about him whenever I finally do release Forgotten Air. But I have to highlight a comment here. It says it says, DeMatteis rhymes with Amadeus. Rock me, DeMatteis. DeMatteis.
Also, I want to make it clear I'm not trying to be rude against DeMatteis. He's a stand-up guy. He's been kind in every interaction I've ever had with him on social media. I don't know. Maybe it might just be like I'm not a big fan of Untold Tales. I'm just that kind of person who views like going back in the past guys, the secret thing that happened in between what you saw, guys, it has happened. I promise.
Yeah.
We just
that can be very hit or very miss. It depends on the writer.
Yeah,
I'll say this.
It can be messy.
There's nobody else that I would want to do the Untold Tales of Ben Reilly than DeMatteis. I just feel like he gets the character.
I mean, that's Ben's basically his character, right? Like,
yeah, people have brought that up to me. So here's my thought on him.
Okay.
I kind of look. Obviously, he was created by Jerry Conway. The concept of a doubled Spider-Man was Jerry Conway, but until it got with DeMatteis and DeFalco and Mackie and DeZago, it was completely irrelevant. The entire thing. So for me, I do think he could have ownership of the character as created by that group with Danny Fingeroff and everybody and Terry Kavanaugh. I mean, it was Terry Kavanaugh's idea. So I think they all have a little piece of ownership, but I think in terms of getting into the psyche, there's nobody better
right
to do that than James.
Because he fleshed him out with Lost Years and Redemption, and then he really seems to love the character. Like people are like, oh, I've seen people ask him to do more Ben. He's like, I'd love to do more Ben. He basically said what he said in the article. So it just seems to me like that's kind of like his character, not in that like, oh, he's the sole creator, but that's like like his favorite in a way.
Yeah,
It's the one he likes to associate himself with. I think is
Yeah.
probably the best turn of phrase in there.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it's like asking who created Venom. There was a lot of people involved, but if you had to name one person, it's Michelini.
yeah, it's
Right.
Michelini.
Because Michelini, I think I remember Mark on the crawl space went into that, and I think Michelini like outlined like the look and everything, like told McFarlane what he wanted him to look like and stuff like that.
And then I think McFarlane elaborated on that. And I think further artists just kind of developed the. Who was it that developed the slime and
Eric
tongue?
Larson.
Yeah,
That was
Larson.
Larson.
That was Larson afterwards. Speaking of DeMatteis fans,
There he is.
There he is.
Hey.
Hi.
The host.
Someone's snug.
Huh?
You're look at you in your little hoodie and your hat. You look snug. Like you're,
It is appropriate to be wearing a hoodie when you're talking about Ben Reilly.
Ooh, yeah, that's right, boy. What's up? What's up, guys? It's been a while.
I'm sorry.
Well, I've been wearing a sweatshirt since I was a kid, and it's like I think Adam can understand. In our circle of music, underground music, sweatshirts are like essential. They're like you're basically underwear,
Yeah.
right, Adam? I mean, that's just kind of
yeah, it's like a uniform kind of.
yeah, exactly. I love hoodies. They're kind of a thing, and I've got dog hair
I do-
all over them too.
I do too, and it's better for that than flannel, which is what they were doing in the 90s.
Hey,
So
nothing wrong with, I have flannels too. Anyway, but so J.M. DeMatteis, I gotta get back on this here. All right, so here's the deal. J.M. DeMatteis is one of the best Spider-Man writers ever,
no question.
and I would say also maybe one of the better comic book writers ever that doesn't get the respect he freaking deserves.
Agreed.
JLI boys rise up.
I haven't read it yet, but regardless,
God.
it doesn't
God.
matter.
Him and Shag Matthews. I mean, they're huge JLI fans. So I will say this for those that don't know. Our first, we're going to make this happen. Between now and January, there will be an interview with DeMatteis about this series and about Spider-Man, about his time on the Clone Saga, and I am, we're going to make it happen.
Everyone got to do the hand rubbing. Go.
He's experienced in the past, so we're going to work on it.
I want to add this. I thought you meant the new Justice League Unlimited that he was doing. That's based off the cartoon.
Oh,
Yeah.
the Infinity.
Yeah, no. That's what I originally thought you were talking about. No, JLI with Keith Giffen, is fantastic.
Kevin McGuire. Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin McGuire. Well, Giffen and him, they wrote together, and then and McGuire. Yeah, those first couple arcs are fantastic. I especially the first one is fantastic. Captain Marvel, Shazam being part of the team was super good. Anyway, I love J.M. DeMatteis. His Spectacular Spider-Man run is just, and it's just Well,
I actually hang on.
but and just for the record, I know the Clone Saga is its own thing. Zach, we all know it's not exactly heavily regarded as a fine wine, if you will. It's more of like an Oreo you find on the floor. I would say.
I'd say it's a cult classic. At this
No, if we're
point.
gonna go with DeMatteis memes, we're gonna go with what's Martian Manhunter's snack? Choco.
Yeah, Oreos. It's Oreos. It's Oreos. Yeah.
I think they were like rip-off Oreos, though.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, like they're not.
Use the Oreo name because Nabisco would have been great up.
So speaking of DeMatteis, I remember this. Venkman sent me like a little care
so
package
nice.
he's an absolute Chad.
Yeah.
But he sent me this as a graduation.
Oh yes.
Nice.
I've still got my copy of that.
yes.
From
So for those that
way
don't,
back.
audio version
Mhm.
is holding up the Spectacular Man number 200.
Phenomenal issue.
Is
Such a great issue.
I still have mine. I love it.
I have mine too.
And I think we'll be talking about that issue quite a bit.
I have a copy.
It is that. If this gets us one step closer to a J.M. DeMatteis omnibus, then I'm all
Please.
for it.
It's got it.
This needs.
Yeah.
The fact is that the fact that the entire, to me, it's criminal that Webb and adjectiveless Flash Peter and Spectacular are not completely collected on Marvel Unlimited. It is criminal.
It's going to happen soon enough. It's going to happen soon enough.
Yeah.
Trust me.
It's coming. There's a lot of comics.
I'm hoping
A lot of comics they have to rescan.
the question that Nick asks is, but could you find it?
Yeah, I probably could.
Yeah, I can't find it, Nick, because it is in Texas and I'm in Nebraska right now. So therefore I cannot find it. All right, so I think I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I think we're at the main event, guys.
Oh God. Oh God.
Neil is going to give us his patented fun recaps of. We're going to do 3 and then 74. And
Oh, bye, Adam.
Let the pontificating.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Neil do it too. I have to get some. I'm still haven't had dinner. I literally just jumped off work into this, so I'm like, I'm ready, and I don't need a recap. No offense, Neil. No offense. I don't know if I can take that again, but we'll wait. We'll wait. Yeah, not you, but the story itself. But we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm gonna go grab something to eat. But please, Neil, have the floor. Take it.
I think we're gonna be split tonight.
I'm gonna wait for a bit just so you and Adam can be here for this, because
it is going to be funny. You know it's going to be funny.
All right. Well, it's gonna be a minute or two, so I'll be right back.
All right. As they jump off for a second, obviously these 2 issues are a bit controversial. Obviously, a spoiler alert for today's issue has to be put out. If you've not read today's issue, this is your spoiler warning. Today's issue came out. It is a whopping 90 pages with ads. It is a 90-page monster. Does it have the spine?
yes, it does. I have it right here.
All right, so you got it in hand. I got the digital copy. So
ASM 74, legacy number 875, and it has the spine, so you can put this on your shelf if you want to.
that's a big if. Do you want to? So yeah, obviously these 2 issues are pretty controversial.
Also, I've got to rant for a second here. Not only was I denied Federico Vicentini for ASM 73, and I was given Ferreira, Gomez, and Zay Carlos.
Sorry, Neil.
Yeah.
Shout out to Zay Carlos though. Zesty Zay Carlos is
he did a lot of this issue. Like he did a surprising amount of the content in this issue.
Honestly, dude, I like his art quite a bit. I'll say
I do. It just in the original solicit we were promised Gleason, Bagley, and Ferreira, and that was it. And instead we have 8 artists.
Promises have not
Neil,
been kept.
I was gonna say, Neil, I'm pretty sure, judging from everything in this run in the last year, a lot of promises were not probably kept. Let's be real. So I'm just gonna throw it out there right now. I don't think a lot of things were supposed to happen the way they were supposed to happen.
Listen, man. If everything else is gonna be thrown out the window, I can at least want the art.
Yeah.
No,
I'm with you.
I can't help but think this is what it was like reading comics in the 80s. The Hobgoblin arc.
Unless you were Claremont, we didn't have that problem with X-Men.
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember the original Hobgoblin mystery, and I'm old enough to remember the Ned reveal. So
I think this is
I'm ready.
I think this might be worse than the Hobgoblin mystery technically, but it's hard.
Yeah, we'll talk.
I
about
think
that later.
I enjoyed the issue more or less, but it's
so who's ready to get this show on the road?
Let's get this recap done.
Do it. Come on, let's do it.
Okay, so ASM 73, legacy number 874, written by Nick Spencer, and art by Zay Carlos, Carlos Gomez, and Marcelo Ferreira, with actually no inker listed.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. I wonder if they all just did their own inks this issue.
I think that may have been the case, considering how fast those put together.
But it does have Alex Sinclair as the colorist.
I think
so. The issue. Adam, shut up.
Go ahead. Okay, I'm sorry.
What were you gonna say?
These guys are working on tablets, so that's.
That could be.
That's true. Okay, guys. So the issue begins with, what does Kindreds do all the time? Pontificating. Okay, so Pete goes into the mausoleum and touches one of the mirrors. The magic mirror opens, and Peter goes inside of a portal to the Paris house. And Peter's spider sense goes off as the door opens. Meanwhile, the mask has come off. It is Gwen Stacy. But you're wrong. Gotcha, bitch. It's Sarah Stacy. So the AI Harry from Legacy of Evil taunts Norman and says, "Hey, remember those kids that you had with my best friend in college? Yeah, so they're test tube children. Here they are in these little test tubes." And Norman goes, "Harry, what's going on?" He's like, "Hey, you want to see a more convoluted saga than the Clone Saga in one issue? Buckle up, buckaroo. It's time to get going." And years ago, Harry Osborn, standing in front of a picture of his father, downs some Goblin formula. And Harry goes, "Oh boy, it's time to get wacky." And so let me tell you what he's
Time to get
done.
nuts.
Let me tell you what he's done. So it was the perfect way to bring Spider-Man low. Chameleon, robot parents. But guess what? That wasn't enough. Now clone children. All right, time to get Mysterio Mendelstrom on board this one. Remember that guy I killed in the first arc of this run? He's back in flashbacks. Remember Gwen Stacy, that woman who fell off the bridge? Time to bring her back, but this time as children. And Norman says, "Well, wait a minute. That was all a lie that I never." And Harry goes, "Yeah, that was weird. I don't know why Quesada and Straczynski wrote that, but guess what? Mysterio.
It was me, Harry.
It was me, Dio, all along."
Oh God, somebody needs to break out "Was me, Austin" from wrestling.
But Harry says, "Hey, so I had to appeal to your ego. You only have the one son. It was me, Harry. No, wait, it was." Okay.
It was me, Harry.
It was me, Harry, all along. So, anyways, art is changed. No, wait, no, the art's still the same. It's still Zay Carlos. So, regular brand new day, Harry and Carly are in the morgue with the skull with the hair taped on. The double-sided tape is still lasted despite over 2 months of standing there. Harry goes, "It's okay, Carly. It's time to face the truth." And then it cuts back to Spec 200 with Harry dying, and Harry says, "And I know where it leads. This ambulance in the middle of the woods." So it cuts back to Norman again, and the scene from what issue was it where Mysterio and Norman plotted Harry's little European excursion?
All right, so that was okay. That was the infamous final story.
Was that Mind on Fire?
It was Mind on Fire. It was when during the Brand New Day,
That's what it was called.
the man showed up. That was a slot story that they threw in the whole scene with Norman and Mysterio to lead into his Mysterio storyline. It was one of those things that I literally threw my hands up and said, "That's going to be your explanation on how you bring back Harry," was Mysterio. And if you go back, it's still in the archives of Crawlspace. I literally lost my ever-loving fucking mind.
I did too.
On that story.
But
when I read that, yeah.
That's what that's a reference to.
But yeah, so but that day in the morgue, it never happened. Gabriel and Sarah Stacy, that's right. Norman Osborn had sex with Mysterio and he liked it.
God,
No.
put on the page. God. Okay.
That fishbowl was a sight to see. But Norman says, "Well, wait a minute.
They have
but
the same company. That's what they
It's Kismet."
These these recaps are way too long. We got to get this ball rolling, man.
All right.
Shut up.
Come on, let's go. Come on.
All right.
This is
Buckle up.
comedy. This is comedy. Buckle up, Buckaroo.
All right.
But
This is
anyways,
comedy.
but Norman says, "Well, you didn't die a hero. You died loved." Anyways, back to Gwen/Sarah. Sarah goes into this convoluted explanation that was it Legacy of Evil? I can't tell in that picture if it's Legacy of
Yes.
Evil Norman or if it's Norman. I think it's both of them.
Who knows?
But they
Who cares?
but they basically generated the clones out of Peter and Gwen's DNA, and the flaws kept causing them to die over and over again. And I guess the assumption is that they kept re-uploading their mind into the bodies, or they kept re-uploading their minds into new bodies.
This takes Slot's clone conspiracy garbage and like pumps it into the Stacy twins, because let's face it. Okay, for those that don't know about the whole Stacy twins thing, go ahead and finish the recap, and then I'll get into that for a second.
Yeah. So, anyways, they cut back to Sin's past, where Peter was introduced to Sarah and Gabriel, and then Gwen's like, "But Gwen told me," and then MJ's like, "But Gwen told me about them," and Kindred goes, "Yeah, that was Mysterio too." And then she goes, "But how? I mean, I saw you." "No, just the face I wanted you to see." And it's revealed that they actually needed the chameleon formula from ASM, from the Chameleon Conspiracy one-shot. Jesus Christ. So anyways, the most recent Gabriel, the one that was American Son back during Dark Reign, this was the perfect form. Or no, that was the one before the perfect form, before the one that they have now. But it had its own flaws, especially not being able to reconcile the fact that Harry Osborn existed. And Sarah says, "But now I've got this right. There's so little time to face your sins." And yeah, so it's time. So Kindred once again pontificates. It's time to go home. Time to wait for the reunion. All of our generations under one roof. This convoluted story that somehow doesn't top the Summers family is back for the reunion. And then it cuts back to hell, or I guess Las Vegas. They're the same thing, though, so not much difference.
Hell or
Okay,
Las Vegas.
Just Sin City. That's the only thing that's related. All right. Anyway, continue.
But Mephisto is like, "Next time, Steven, if you don't want to play games, stay away from the slots," which people took as an insult to Slot, and it's like, stop reading into this that heavily, guys. That's not.
I don't think that was a.
Yeah.
It was literally.
But now we only. But we have only one wager that really concerns you: the virtue of a hero for the corruption of a soul. Dun dun dun. Anyways, time for a transition to 9/11. Peter is calling Aunt May and says, "Yeah, I gotta go. Bye." And he's with Captain America, and Captain America rings a bell. I'm not sure if this is an actual thing or not. So, but across the country, instead of doing their job, service members are just standing around looking at their phones. And then the Twin Towers lights leading a plane to fall out of the sky from being blinded.
Oh
You know,
God! Stop! No.
Those lights were actually there. Those lights were there.
Those lights are still there. That's horrible, Neil. Too far. I told you. You've got a line. You can't go across this line.
Okay, but
Across this line, you
Spider-
know it.
It's kind of there, buddy.
But Spider-Man says, "Did you know anyone?" And in spite of Captain America, because of the sliding timeline coming out of the ice after 9/11, he says, "Yeah, I still know every single one of them."
Okay, that's
Yeah,
another.
no one cares about him coming out of the ice after 9/11.
All right, so okay,
Like that,
this one's gonna be controversial, guys.
I think you need to take the story for what it is instead of trying to figure out how it fits in the continuity.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
I agree.
Paul,
with
you're
you.
muted.
Whoa. Here's Greg, I agree for the most part what you say. I think you're right. And I'm not, I love continuity. I love when things are retconned. I love when things are made to like, again, like make things whole again. And I think Nick Spencer, for 80% of this run, has done a fantastic job of making things, even though it might be over ridiculous. And we're Spider-Man, right? It's comic books. Things have to be ridiculous. I get it. The problem is with these two issues, or I should say that pretty much Sinister War as a whole.
9/11 story more than anything, right there. But
Oh, my bad. I thought you were talking about this whole story overall. I apologize, but I have to say this. I hope I didn't offend you or anything by that.
no.
But so the thing is, what it's so baffling to me, and I've been a big Nick Spencer supporter, and I've defended him a lot. I will defend his run. These last, I would say, 5-6 issues of the series, including Sinister War, have just been, and again, I've defended it, being like, okay, it's going to get somewhere. I think he's getting somewhere. He never got anywhere.
Oh, sorry, Paul.
It's okay. Really quickly. I just feel that I don't, and I when Neil was talking, he said, Nick Spencer wrote this, and I said wrote. I don't know. Right now at this point, I'm to the point where I don't know if Nick Spencer wrote this or he pretty much just has his name on it to like he had a very, very hard, look. I don't know. I don't know what he did.
Because it was One More Day, part 2.
I'll say this. I think he plotted it. I don't think he wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he wrote it. Yeah.
Christos Gage admitted that he worked on this issue more than just the backup.
We'll talk about this later, but I was talking with Mike on the Crawl Space Discord, and I think there's something we'll call the Spencer cut, which is essentially the Snyder cut of Spencer's Amazing Spider-Man run. Like this issue especially, and we'll get to this later, but this issue and this one to me feel like they were written by a completely different person.
Absolutely.
Tonally, they like Spencer has a very specific voice for Peter and MJ, and Peter's not in this issue very much, which is kind of a detraction for it, and we'll get to that when we get to grades. But
Right.
to me, it just feels like a completely different person wrote these issues.
Mm-hmm.
And going to the Sins Past bit, because that's essentially what this issue is essentially like, remember Sins Past didn't happen the way you thought it did. I don't think this was the story Spencer wanted to retcon.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with you. 100%.
I disagree. I think Spencer wanted to do this one, but I think that there was going to be a bigger arc, and I honestly think that the last second of the reveal that the Stacy twins were involved, I think was going to be built. Honestly, I think that this run was cut short by 25 issues. I think the original intent was to do everything up in 900 with Spencer, but when Spencer got the opportunity that he just felt he could not pass up, he had to stuff. They basically went back and said, okay, here's the meta arc. This is where we were going to go slot these things in. And now we got to sit there and stuff it. That's why the Chameleon Conspiracy was as rushed as it was. It's why everything. Go ahead, Paul.
All right, I disagree. This is, I'm sorry. I disagree because this is why. Okay, it goes in the next issue. That's why I hate recaps. I want to just go all over the place because like it's all together. Because really quick, I'll just say one thing to this next issue is this. The reason why I disagree with you is the two kindreds. When that showed up, I'm like, okay, like I agree with Neil. This is ridiculous. Like, kindred is a specific person for how long, and then all of a sudden, like he's a completely different character.
It's a complete pivot.
It's a complete pivot. So that's why, and maybe you're right to an extent, Zach. But I disagree that. It's such a dramatic change that I'm like something's not right. So that's where I go with.
I think the biggest issue, and we can quickly we can get through this one because this one obviously is the big thing is the retcon of with Sins Past. I think that there was an intent to try to fix these things, fix the Stacy issue, the Stacy twins issue.
I agree. Yes.
Putting out the ether forever. I think that there was an intent to fix. Something to be in next issue. I think that there was always the intention for Spencer to pick because everything about that part of it rings true to me because I think that was always Spencer's intent was to Spider-Man's timeline is a freaking mess. We need to fix this. Yeah. The Harry stuff made sense. The deal with the devil never made sense, even though we'll get to that in a minute. The Stacy twin stuff didn't make sense. So basically, there was a bunch of things that happened in the last Spider-Man that if you're sitting reading it from the beginning and you get to this point, it makes no damn sense at all. And so Spencer, I think, wanted to try to streamline things, try to make things make more sense. Basically, address all the issues that we had. Some of them were Slot's fault. Some of them weren't Slot's fault. I don't blame Slot for a lot of this
Most
stuff.
of Quesada's fault.
I mean, this was a lot of the Quesada JMS meddling, Quesada, wherever it was Quesada meddled, it caused issues. Where Jameis, meddled, caused issues. So to try to make everything make sense, because for a lot of people, there's for a segment of fans that there's that blatant cutoff between Volume 1 and Volume 2. Spencer tried to make that as seamless as possible and addressing all these things that there's, and we'll get to that when we get towards the end of the episode. Where we talk about the whole.
And I kind of and real quick, I kind of want to bring this up, is that I kind of made a joke that, like, Spider-Man's history at this point is almost as convoluted as like Scott Summers and his family, and I was kind of made it in jest, but in some ways, this storyline, this particular issue, kind of serves to point out that isn't really a joke anymore. Like the fact that we had to jump through this many mental gymnastic hoops in order to get to Sins Past being erased. Feels like we're kind of repeating the same problem that like the Pims and the Summers families do.
Yeah, getting out of these two big things was never going to be clean, no matter how it was done.
True,
I feel like Spencer is the one who decided to take it on, and regardless of how it went, fall on his sword to try to at least make some sense of it and work with the tools that Quesada and previous people have given him.
And I'm wondering, Paul, you and I have kind of made the connection that these two issues were written by, like, we think that it was written by someone completely different. I'm fairly certain it was Christos Gage who went back. I'm wondering if Spencer had the notes on his desk when he took the Substack deal, or like got forced out or whatever and then they picked up the notes and said, okay, let's try and cut out what we don't want out of there and then kind of fill in the blanks from there, and then they just didn't know what they were doing, because that's kind of what it feels like, especially, and we'll talk about that more in this issue.
All right, so let's real quickly for Paul, your grade?
C-. I just think that this I can't give it a failing grade because I didn't hate it. I think the reason why I gave it a C- is because I loved Nick Spencer's arc so much through, and I just, it's hard for me to hate anything at the very, something I love so much, even though it's crashing and burning in the worst possible way. I still can't hate it. I still don't hate it. It's very, this issue, I literally just was like, even the people who like are online, like the Spider Talk guys who are super not into the Spencer run. And again, I disagree with them for the most part, but I can't defend it. They're right about this stuff. Like, I'm like, this is not good, but I don't know if Nick Spencer wrote this. Like, what Neil said here is that there's just something doesn't seem right. And it felt like very much like, here's what I've got, have fun, and then I'm out. And the other telling thing, and I just want to, and it kind of goes in the next issue, but just bear with me. It's not really about the story. Nick Lowe, who seems like a pretty genuine dude, he wrote his, had a big, backup at the very end. Adam, Neil, Greg, Zach, I'm not sure if you guys have noticed this, but when you read that, there's one very telling thing about it. Nick literally gets a paragraph. Now,
he doesn't even get to write his own goodbye.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's
so.
Yeah, no, I
that
agree with that.
Really quickly. That to me spoke everything about this. How does someone who's written for 3 years, pretty much the whole
74 issues plus time,
70, or whatever. How does that guy only get a paragraph of like, thanks, Nick Spencer, bye? What? Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, okay.
I'm wondering if they're mad that like he's taking. I'm wondering if they're mad that he's taking so much of their talent to Substack with him.
I honestly, who knows? I mean, we'll know in like 5-6 years. We'll know everything.
Yeah.
But here's my predictions right now, and we can mark it here on the show. And like when I'm like ostracized for later on for something I did that said it's at one point, whatever, come back to me and say this. I want us to predict right now. I think that Nick Spencer didn't want the whole twins thing to happen. I think he probably bailed out earlier for whatever reason. Meaning, I don't know if he was pushed out, but but I think he bailed out on them. I think they're pissed off at him, and I think that there's major things that he was probably wanted to do and try to do that they wouldn't let him or something like that, because as we know in this next issue, something majorly foreshadowed that still is not done. So
Right. Yeah.
anyway, I'll end there.
I have thoughts on that also, but yeah.
All right.
So real quick before we do end, as much jest as I gave it, and I know I upset Zach, and I do want to apologize for that. The 9/11 backup is actually fairly solid. It showcases John Romita Jr.'s, I guess, fairly triumphant return to Marvel, because this came out before Fantastic Four, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it came out like a week before.
So as much jest as I gave it, and I know that upset Jack, and I am sorry if I upset your feelings.
It's one of those things, I'll say this, and this is I'll briefly say this. This was the year I had to explain to my daughter what 9/11 meant. Why was 9/11 important? So this year, it was kind of there was a lot of mixed bag things, because you're trying to tell a 6-year-old about a traumatic historical event and try to dumb it down. And so from my perspective, even though I didn't live through 9/11, the guy in the box next to me did. The guy that used to be my roommate in a part of the network on CSC did. They lived through these things. So knowing people that went through it, I get very, and we all of us in this room, we all went through it to various degrees, except for maybe Neil because of your age. But
I've lived through the culture that
you've
came
lived
out
through,
of it.
you lived through the aftermath. You don't know anything about how the world worked beforehand, and so trying to explain that, and we're gonna. It's one of those things with that for me and my daughter. It will be peeling an onion. That's the approach we're going to take. We kind of gave the 10,000-foot view this year, and as she gets older and she gets a little more mature and she gets to where she's starting to read about it, in school, whenever she gets to be in 5th grade, when they do U.S. history, we'll talk about it. So,
yeah, but I did want to go back and as much as I kind of went, okay, this is something you would slap on the side of your truck. It does have the effective gravitas, and
you can tell that
there was genuine heart put into this. It's well written, even in terms of just plotting, because the characters don't say a lot. Quesada does a pretty good job writing and plotting out for Romita to essentially shine.
Yeah, he lets Romita do the heavy lifting. So I agree. I like that backup. I thought it was good. I think it's a great follow-up, especially if you went back like me and you go read that 9/11 tribute issue.
Just feels weird that they put in Excalibur, which
it does feel weird. The placement of it being a backup across the entire line is a little weird.
Yeah, that was good. But the point is made.
All right.
So
let's really quickly go through the grades before we get to 78, 75. Adam, you gave it a B.
Yeah, I want to do credit, no credit, honestly, but if this were a college class,
Yeah.
I maybe would have. I don't know if I would have given it a little higher, but you guys kind of bring me down to earth a little bit, because it is how I feel about it. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it is confusing. We're bringing in all this stuff. We're bringing in all this stuff and saying oh, it didn't really happen that way, which is fine.
Jeff Castro makes
the Hobgoblin stuff.
I brought that up earlier.
I wanted to joke when Greg was talking about someone was going to try to retcon Sin's past, and it wasn't going to be clean, and I was thinking, oh yeah, Spencer put the Infinity Gauntlet on and said I'll do it myself. But who knows if who knows if it was him, I guess. I don't know. Oh, and I want to say, and Mike brought this up, because Paul, you're saying that you're not sure if the two Kindreds thing was going to be a thing. I get that. Who knows? But there was precedent for it, because
Mike points it out.
Mike pointed out Kindred has had two different coats. The color, sometimes it has been tan, sometimes it's been a purple thing. it's kind of like it's almost a blink if you miss it. I don't know if it was going to be the twins, but there was something going on with that.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that was more down to coloring error.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How
I could. I know. I'm just saying it was there.
The bandages on Kindred's left arm is different than the other left arm. It's like, and if you look at, he kind of stoops down a little bit. So actually, there might be like 3 Kindreds if you count.
I do feel like the thing is, it might be coloring error. I would say that has a very good chance. But I'm just saying that there was a reason why, like, so many times it was tan, so many times it was purple. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to defend that it was always a Stacy twins.
Oh God!
Especially
we're in full coat mode.
All right, let's do this real quickly.
I mean, I honestly, I don't care. It's over, man.
I know. Adam, I love you. You know that. I love you.
Right, so
I just want to throw it out there. There's
that's fair.
A precedent.
That's fair. Precedent.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, I'm getting passionate.
Sure is.
tonight.
It was probably just
Greg,
artistic error, honestly, but
Yes, like I said, it was messy. I feel like, but it was necessary also, especially if they were packing the stuff in at the last minute. I do get the feeling, like you've said, it's supposed to go up to at least 900, and they're speeding their way through this. And under the and I tend to think a lot about the circumstances under which these things get written or done. And as such, I'm giving it a slightly higher grade than maybe I should, but it was messy, it was convoluted, but it also in some ways made sense to me as well. I wanted that story retconned out, and they did it.
All right.
And Mary and MJ being
did it,
hypnotized on
all right.
Mysterio makes sense. It's the only other way you can get it. You can get out.
Okay,
of that.
hang on, real quick. Someone in the chat just mentioned this. According to Zdarsky in interviews, Spencer went to Substack a while ago. I'm thinking it was around when Last Remains was being published. Editorial 100% messed with his run. Okay, so I think the last arc that Spencer truly wrote. Oh, sorry.
Let me just do the grades right quick, and then we'll
No grades.
God. Like I we'll bring up that point, but let's get the grades done. Let's do the final recap, and then we'll just go to freaking town. Like I want to.
everyone's
Kinda
pissed off.
We'll get there.
I'm mad.
All right, so Adam's grade was a B. Neil's grade was a C. Paul's grade was C minus. My grade, C minus. Greg's grade was a B minus. My grade is a C minus. I agree with everything that's been said here. It was frustrating. It was I don't like element of it. The Norman thing just makes me uncomfortable. The fact that he was. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right, let's just.
He'll be an evil bastard again soon enough.
Like to me, yeah. Anyway, so 875. We're finally here.
Let me just say real quick, we're going through therapy right here in real time. So,
Oh God, yeah, we are. All right, so
We are.
I love.
875. The review will be done. The recap will be done by Neil. We're only going to cover this Kindred part, and we'll do the other 2 parts separately together. Okay, go, Neil. Run.
All right, so every 5 minutes I take to review this book as that kills a hostage. Got it. Okay. So, ASM 875. What cost victory? Jesus Christ, that's a telling image. Written by Nick Spencer with mask off, Christos Gage. Art by Marcelo Ferreira. It was me, Christos, all along. With Marcelo Ferreira, Mark Bagley, Zay Carlos, Dio Neves, Carlos Gomez, Ivan Fiorelli, and Humberto Ramos as the pencilers. Jesus Christ, there's a lot of Italian in this book.
I did like Fiorelli's good.
With Jesus Christ, Wayne Foucher and Marcelo Ferreira, Andrew Hennessy and Andy Owens, Zay Carlos, Dio Neves, Carlos Gomez, Ivan Fiorelli, and Victor Olazaba as inkers, and Andrew Crossley, Edgar Delgado, and Alex Sinclair as colorists. Jesus Christ, when there's only 3 colorists against 8 pencilers and 8 inkers, we have a problem here, guys. Okay, so as you remember in the last arc,
we have a problem.
So, as explained in the last arc, Jesus Christ, I don't want to go back and do that again. All right, let's keep going. So, we begin with a familiar page in Spec 200, where Harry and Peter make up one last time before Harry passes, and then Harry wakes up in his house. Just kidding, it's hell. Mephisto is lording over him, and they have a little bit of banter. And then all of a sudden we cut back to the present, where Peter is getting dragged by tentacles into the Paris house. Someone probably is going to do a comic out of this. I don't know. But Kindred and Peter begin fighting. Credits page. All right. Norman has a seizure as he runs out of the lab. MJ looks at herself in the mirror and looks as a deer in the headlights moment and runs through the portal. MJ finds Peter on the ground, and they take a very inopportune moment to have a little smooch. Very cute. One of the few good moments in this book. Okay, so yeah, we'll talk about that. So Norman comes out and everyone goes, "What's wrong with you? Get up, they're coming." And then all of a sudden, there's two kindreds. Shoot me.
I knew it.
Now there are two of them.
This is going too far. So
this has gone too far.
Mephisto says, "Hell is usually of her own making, after all," and it cuts back to Vegas Hell, where Doctor. Yeah, I can hear it.
Okay, all right, fine.
I heard it.
But Doctor Strange and Mephisto keep on gambling. Doctor Strange's gambling addiction is going to catch up with him, culminating his death in Death of Doctor Strange #1, written by Jed McKay and art by Lee Garbett. Anyways, art change. Mark Bagley's on art now. So Carly and Harry are still in the morgue. Jesus, are you ever going to leave that morgue?
No.
While Peter faces up against the two kindreds. You can tell this book was pressed for time because there's so many padded pages of the kindreds just beating the crap out of Peter. It's like watching a street fight.
And no dialogue anywhere.
Yeah.
There's not even Kindred's not even pontificating. That's how you know we're in trouble.
That's why you know Spencer didn't write it.
There's nothing but 3 solid pages of the fight.
It's like a Tom King book. Jesus Christ.
Oh, what? Anyway,
I heard that comparison.
Okay, so anyways, back in the morgue, Harry has a stroke and finally forces the door to open so he can go into his house. He walks in on Liz sleeping, which is weird, and then he goes and looks at his kids sleeping, which is weird, and then he goes to the closet to find the Goblin gear, and he's like, "Yeah, I kept it around just because I might need it one day. I might have relapsed."
Cool.
And he goes, "Time to go face Kindred as Harry Osborn," and another splash page, 2 splash pages of Kindred beating the absolute tar out of Peter.
Splash pages.
And Norman says, "Yeah, win or lose, this is just Peter's fight." And then out of nowhere, I guess he found the magic door portal. Harry pumpkin bombs the hell out of them and gives Peter his hand to finish the fight together. So Master Chief and the Arbiter in Halo 3 go up against the two kindreds. And it's just one aggressively long fight scene overlaid with Norman explaining to MJ what happened with Mephisto.
This was supposed to be a shocked face, but this is just.
No, but it looks like she's trying to like. I made a joke to Symbiote Bro. I have no dialogue bubble.
She looks like Sarah Connor there.
It looks like she's disgusted with him.
First Terminator.
It looks like she's trying to shout at him.
Like she wants to scream at him, but she just doesn't know what to say.
I have no dialogue bubble, and yet I must scream.
Yeah.
So, anyways, fight scene. Kindred has Harry on the ropes, and Harry finally said we were all saying it was all a lie. And Peter says, "I knew it. Somehow I always knew." No, you didn't. You pulled out of your ass, Peter. Stop pretending you have a W here. And then Norman stops the fight. Jesus Christ. Okay, so exposition. Mephisto is in the computer. He actually is the computer. So the kindreds are mad, or just one of them. Only one of them says liar. But they both attack Norman. One of them bites him, which is kind of weird, but you know that works. Yeah. But
Alexa, come out the living room.
yeah. Good night, Mom. Okay. So Peter and Harry against all common logic.
Really cute.
That was very
But Peter and Harry against all common sense let Storm and Norman live and decide to face the kindreds head on. And they're about to kill Norman when Harry flies his goblin glider in front and takes the bullet for Norman. And in a scene that was supposed to reflect AS Spec 200 but does a poor job of doing so, Peter and Harry say this was how it was supposed to be before Harry just dies. Oh well.
Well,
So Peter jumps back into the fight. Oh, Jesus Christ. This book is actually like making me physically ill. Fight scene. Mephisto exposits some more, and then Peter finally beats them up. Okay, hang on. Let me see where something interesting actually happens. Okay, so the Kindreds are mad at Norman, so they decide to bring the entire house down on them. Does Norman appear after this? I feel like Norman disappears for the book. Actually, Carly is gone from the rest of the book too.
Yeah.
I just realized that.
Carly Nope's out of it.
Thank God.
Oh.
She had sense. So Peter is buried under the pile of debris from Amazing Spider-Man number 33, but despite his best efforts, he does not have an "if this be my destiny" moment. And Mephisto is like, haha, guess Peter lost. And then Doctor Strange says, may I point it out, I am entitled to 2 champions. I don't remember this part showing up, but I'm assuming it happened earlier. But his other champion was
Right.
MJ, who pulls Peter out of the rubble.
based.
Great moment. Let's give them
Based-
credit. Great moment.
Based Spencer / Christos Gage.
Yeah.
How far he's
um,
come since the ending of Superior.
How far he's Superior. His Superior one was good. How far he's come.
I mean the original one where Mary Jane did the face of Tiger, but she was like, goodbye, remember?
Oh yeah. How far he's come since the beginning of this issue. But Kindred says, "Don't be afraid. It's over. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. I'm smiling because it's over." But Peter sits between the 2 Kindreds, and Sarah goes, "We never had a mother." And Peter says, "True or not, if you needed, she'd love you all the same. I don't love you, and I'm a real person, so
He's talking about
Peter's
Gwen.
being kind. That's who he is.
I don't care." Oh, Norman does show up again. I forgot.
Yeah, he goes and
but
cries.
he has a little cry. I wish I had emotions. MJ and Peter finally, I guess, don't make up. They have a little hug, and cuts back to Hell, where Mephisto and Doctor Strange are having a little drink. Is it Hell or this is still
Nice.
Vegas, right? Yeah, it's still Vegas.
Vegas.
But
Hell
anyway,
or Vegas.
same thing. So anyways, Doctor Strange asks, so why are you so obsessed with Peter Parker? And Doctor Strange basically says, like, hey, so I saw Into the Future, and Peter Parker wasn't really that important. Peter Parker is more of a risk aversion, and it's revealed that the one thing he's afraid of is Mayday Parker, which should be a big deal, but it's only in 1 page, so no one cares. So
The
Doctor
panel
Strange,
that was leaked.
the one panel that Rich
And Bleeding Cool spoiled it, yeah.
Bleeding Cool
Yeah.
spoiled this entire bit, which I'm more than a little irritated about. But good, continue.
That's why you stay off the internet during these things.
Oh God.
Well, I figured Rich had the No, this is Rich Johnson. He doesn't have that kind of courtesy. So, anyways,
He does douchebag.
yep. So, anyways, Doctor Strange talks about Peter and MJ's love, that perhaps Mephisto's arrogance is undoing, and so Peter and MJ can somehow afford a flight back to New York.
MJ's
That's-
got money though.
She's got money.
That's
She got
true.
It's in the movie.
Yeah, she got that was real
She
money.
walks up and goes,
That's true. They did. There was an entire issue of her solo about getting funding. So yeah. But anyways, they fly home to New York and they stay in. So this is where Peter's been living since ASM 66, I guess.
Good. Good.
Where's
Good
Gog?
for him.
yeah.
Oh. Gog is
but
gone.
But in the morning, MJ is astonished. She's being drawn by Humberto Ramos now.
And it's
So
good.
she and Peter hold hands and web swing through the city to, I guess, even higher than the sensational Spider-Man annual
They went to the top
tower.
of the world. Speaking of One World Trade Center, I think that's actually the Tower of One World Trade Center.
And Doctor Strange says they are better for it. Their bond's stronger, their joy is greater, and their love unbreakable. And it ends on the
Aw. 2
kissing.
That is
Two of the good two good pages in this book. Holy shit!
All right.
I've
Whoa,
got quite a
whoa.
bit to say.
I think, dude, I think
Then-
Harry coming in to fight was cool.
Yeah. No,
Then
it was.
the
No,
letter-
I know, but like the only pages that weren't like with 40 asterisks attached to why they were
Right.
good.
All right.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Okay.
Where do we even start from here?
This is
Thanks,
all right.
Krista. Thanks,
Where
Christos
do we go
Gage, you
from
shadow
here?
puppet.
I
All
don't
right.
blame Christos for this. I
All
don't
right,
blame him at all.
What is your grade? That is the question of this particular story.
Okay, so let me. Oh, I almost knocked this off my thing. As someone who has loved Nick Spencer's run since the beginning,
Same.
and has defended him even when it was controversial to defend him. I'm not trying to fight this one. This is a D. Actually, D minus. The only thing that saves us from an F is that, I don't even know why. I feel like I'm just holding on to some hope that like one day we'll get the equivalent of the Snyder cut and Spencer can post it on like his Substack
Or
account.
Hobgoblin lives.
Yeah.
Right. Kindred lives.
All right, so segment starts, and now the main event, the retcon of Spider-Man 3. So,
I think it's telling, and here's where the
bargain, jump the shark, D from Snowflow. Good night, Neil's mom. Basically, Princess Leia from the Turn of the Jedi, and just like the movie, what Peter said was BS.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! I
Oh,
will resent that. I resent that, Mr. McNulty.
you can tell editors got their hands on this because both kindreds under Demon Harry or AI Harry's control is evidence of the last issue. Yet now Sarah and Gabriel were aware the whole time. Also,
Yep.
see the fact that the possible future of Spider-Girl defeating Mephisto, and that's the reason behind One More Day, is proof that Marvel will never undo it. We'll get to that in a minute.
I
It
got
doesn't need to
thoughts
be
on that one.
undone. It just needs to be addressed.
so one of the main problems
basically
I
means
have.
undone in a way, but anyway.
You can't.
So
Okay, let's go around and give quickly the grade, and I will let everybody go.
damn, Paul just had a freaking
Go.
stroke.
I just want to talk about this. We keep talking. Just talk about the damn book. Come on. I'm tired of recapping. I don't
All right.
care. Everyone can read it.
I'm
Go
done
online. Buy it.
The recap's over.
Yeah, I
It's been
gave it
over
a
for
C.
like
I
2
didn't give it a B
minutes.
minus. I gave it a C.
Is it over? Oh.
Last issue was a B minus.
Just breathe, bro. I get it. It's a big issue. We gotta talk about it. All right, great. C. I'm giving this. I hate to do this. I'm giving it. I think it's a D book.
Zach gives it an F.
That's not me. I'm not. It just ends on a dud, and not
D
good.
for dud.
There's for this story, I give it a D. The unfortunately, it was completely predictable. The Mayday Parker thing, I'm not a huge like.
That felt like a bone toss.
That was a bone toss. The other part where they're showing the supposed battle, they can't even bring themselves to actually MC2 characters in it. It's a it is an acknowledgement that hey, yes, but it just does. It creates another question, which is, I thought that the little redheaded girl in One More Day was Annie,
Yeah.
not Mayday Parker. That's the issue. So that's where I'm at with it. I'll talk definitely more about that part of it on Make My Mayday. Paul, I know you're chomping at the bit, so I'm going to let you go. Thoughts?
And I gave this issue a C minus for the record, and the main reason why is because of it doesn't get a D for me. Is I thought the art actually was probably the highest. It was like the strongest part of this book, and I read.
Yes.
Go ahead, Neil. You wanted to say something?
I actually think that like the last 2 pages done by Ramos are some of his best.
Yeah.
Yes, me too.
I thought Mark Bagley's stuff was great. Now the content in which it was constructed, as far as the storyline and what was ending, not great. But for me, this issue and I think the end of this run, again, it just feels incomplete to me. And I wanted to give it an F. I almost gave it like an F. But there are some. I would say there are some silver linings for this book, and I think for the series as a whole. Because we've been talking a lot about this. I do not think Spencer meant for this to happen at the way it's constructed. Whether or not we can, I don't think Gabriel and Sarah were supposed to be the kindreds. It was all along. I don't think it was. I don't think that was the case. Kindred there's too much TLC brought with Kindred. I keep going back to when Kindred says to when he gets pissed off that when Peter reveals himself to Black Cat, and he's like, "Why'd you reveal it to her? Why her?" It's like, why would Why would Gabriel and Sarah care about that? They wouldn't. So don't. So in the end, I don't think there's two kindreds, at least at first. I don't think any of that was supposed to happen. I don't know what was supposed to happen, but obviously Nick Spencer bolted They had to fix things, and this is them trying to fix things. I definitely feel that they're trying. I disagree with I believe it was Mr. McNulty here saying about they're never going to retcon one more day. I don't believe that at all. There's no way Nick Spencer has been hinting at things or whatever for all this time, and then all of a sudden Mephisto is still, after this issue, a major part of Spider-Man's lore and history and what's to come. If they're just going to throw it away and go, we're not going to address it or even go anything with it. There's no way they're going to do that. There's no way. And let me finish. I got like 2 more minutes. Let me 2 more minutes, please.
Okay. All right.
And the thing is with this, and the reason why I think that, especially to me, it only cements it with Mayday Parker, because with that reveal, you gotta remember, this is a business, folks. This is a business. Yeah. And what is marketable for Spider-Man? All the offshoots. What is a giant part of Spider-Man right now? Multiverse, Spider-Man, Spider-Verse, all that stuff. Well, you know what is a major character that they have those complete collections they keep releasing on? Well, it's Spider-Girl, and they haven't touched on it. And she's got a huge cult following. And as we know with our great show with Zach and Kelly, and the thing is, this is a character that they are just sleeping on, and they know they got a sleeping giant with her. And I believe in a lot of the characters of Spider-Man's world, and she's one of them. And the fact that they put Mayday Parker in that one little hint, I don't know if that was Spencer's doing, but that's definitely a Marvel doing, being like, you need to get Mayday Parker back into the Spider-Verse or into the Spider-Man's world so we can start marketing the character when we eventually introduce her into a cartoon or whatever. And that, to me, is why I think this will be retcon. Because look at what's going on in DC right now. Superman. Everyone's afraid about Lois Lane and Superman being married, or all this and all that. What they do? DC finally came to their senses and said, "Hey, let's get Lois Lane and Superman back together, and let's give them some freaking kids." And now look at them. It's no one cares. Everyone loves it. It's got a whole huge show on CW. Yep. So don't tell me Mayday Parker is just a throwaway. No, this is a calculated thing. If Mephisto walks from this issue and it was done, then you're right. I'd be like, absolutely, one more day is never going to be retconned. But no, in fact, the very last thing is Spider-Man and Mary Jane saying they're never going to be, their bonds are never stronger. And Mephisto is still part of this, and his champion's Mary Jane, and you got potential killer Mephisto and Mayday Parker. I 100% disagree with it. And the last thing I'll end on, and then Zach, thank you for letting me have this moment, the soapbox. I appreciate it. The thing is, the reason why I didn't give this an F is because I read a tweet from someone, and I definitely agree with it. I expected it to be all retcon on this, and I'm actually thankful it wasn't, because this would have been a giant mess. I think that's what's going to eventually happen in 900. We're going to get a crawl note, to those 25 issues of keep it going. And we're eventually going to have some Mephisto thing with it, because we still have it tied with Norman and with Harry. So we're going to crawl that way with it somehow. And I hope it happens soon, because it's either way, either they retcon it completely or they remarry them and they're back together. Irregardless, that'd be the same thing to me. So I think that's the one silver lining for this issue. And thank you, Zach, for letting me have my moment. Thank you.
Greg.
Again, I gave it a C. It would have been lower, but it gave me a few things I wanted. A lot of what you covered there as well. But technically, this issue was sloppy. It was sloppy as hell. It stands out against everything that came before. I mean, last issue, I believe that the two clones, Gabriel and Sarah, were husks that the soul of Harry, the demon soul, was possessing. This issue, I don't even know anymore. I don't know.
It was the computer. The computer did it.
I'm with you, Greg. I'm 100% with you.
And so much stuff was left out in the open, and that's because Spencer walked away prematurely. So hopefully this stuff will get addressed later on in a timely fashion, like that wedding ring that Peter was waiting to give to her.
That never. Where'd that go?
That was the
next issue.
Or the ending. That was going to be the ending. That's one of the reasons that I agree with Paul. That was going to be the ending.
Yes.
Or this is as Aikman said it. It was editorial all along.
Yeah, so yes, it was.
Dude.
And what's gonna happen with Norman? Is he gonna go? We know he's gonna become the Goblin again and go evil, crazy. This is only temporary. He's Spidey's arch enemy.
I'm surprised it
However,
stayed. I'm honestly surprised it stayed this way as long as it did.
Me too.
There's so much there. Okay, so
Hey,
here's the thing.
I'm not
that
finished. I'm not
sorry.
finished. I'm not finished. But here's also what it gave me: Harry coming back in one more day, and the explanations afterwards were always idiotic. It completely destroyed Norman's motivations when he came back during the Clone Saga, going up and talking to Harry's grave. That was fixed. I am happy that it was fixed. It all makes sense again, because Peter and Norman were fighting over the death of somebody that they both loved. Even Norman loved Harry in his own stupid, evil,
twisted way.
Twisted way.
twisted way. That's what it was about.
It's the only.
So when they came back, so when Harry came back in one more day, and it was retconned that Norman brought him back with Mysterio, that it was wrong. It made no sense. It did not line up with anything that came before. It was a really, really bad retcon. Now, granted, there were some pretty clumsy retcons in this, but they were necessary to get us back to a point where that relationship between Peter and Norman made sense. So I am happy that we're here. I'm happy that Harry turned out to be a clone that Norman created. And I'm happy that Harry got to have a heroic death, because clone Harry wasn't a villain. He was a good guy. But he shouldn't have stayed alive forever once we found out what he was. So I'm glad he got to go out with some measure of dignity. Plus, I'm happy that Mayday is now back into continuity and was one more day undone. When I described someone was kinda, sorta. The lock was blown off of the door. The door was nudged open. I read this metaphor earlier. Even though they haven't stepped through the door yet, it could potentially the door could be open. Doctor Strange said that their love was unbreakable. Mayday is now back in the continuity as a almost definitive future for them. Even though that was messy the way they did it.
Can I ask a really weird question?
Sure. Let me finish first.
Okay.
And I've got one more note, and this is why I gave this a C instead of an F. Is Spider-Man, is the mythos, is the franchise here stronger now than it was before Nick Spencer's run? Yes. Overall, despite this issue being a dud, it did not damage the mythos. It continued to help fix the mythos in a clumsy, sloppy way. So I'm going to call this issue, it was a necessary evil, I think, to get us to hopefully better stories to come.
All right, Neil. Great.
So can I ask? Oh, so I gave it, I think, was it a D in there?
Yeah, I think you said D minus.
Yeah, D minus. Jesus Christ, what a!
No, you never gave me. A grade. I'm sorry.
So just go with the D minus, because that's kind of how I feel. I almost feel like giving it an F. Like, Jesus Christ, what a cluster of an issue. So there were things I did like. So for one, despite the absurd amount of artists in this issue, there were actually a couple of standouts. Bagley was great. Who was that guy? Not Ferreira.
Gomez.
Zay Carlos.
No, actually, I didn't like Gomez in this issue. His art felt really rushed. I wonder if it's because like they had him double timing so many issues beforehand, but he felt really sloppy in this issue. Also might be Alex Sinclair's colors, but Bagley, Ramos surprised me, even though he only did like 2 pages, which makes me fil that editorial stepped in, because Ramos wasn't even close to solicited on here.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. So for one, it feels like I wish Paul was here because maybe he could back me up on this. But this issue was like, imagine like I used this in the Crawl Space Discord as a comparison, but imagine if Dale Earnhardt was at the Daytona 500 and he won, and while he was giving some smoke to the crowd, his brakes gave out and he crashed into the wall. That's kind of how this issue felt for me.
I hear you.
The fact is that one of the pages was literally a reprint of Sabi-sama.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was 1 page out of 62 or so.
But still, like the fight scenes were all over the place. but the art was all over the place. At least and not necessarily in terms of quality, but the pacing. Well, actually, there was some really bad artists in here. Ferrero was one of them.
I thought the art was solid myself.
The art's
didn't,
great. I think
didn't.
all the artists are great.
I didn't like Ferrero and Neves. Carlos Gomez really underballed it for me. It might be the coloring, but honestly, Zay Carlos was surprisingly one of my MVPs this issue. I like the Peter and MJ. Every time Peter and MJ were together, I think that this book like shot up in quality. Like when it was them.
Yes.
When it
I
was
love
them.
that she got to be a champion here.
I love
Yeah.
that like they got to they
That
just
was good.
they cut the BS. They got back together. Like they as soon as they met up, they just hugged and kissed and shit. But like then she was his champion, and then they went home, and they woke up and their relationship was stronger than ever. And it sucks that like we're getting like Ben Reilly taking over and Peter going into a coma or
I am
hospital.
looking forward to that issue that
Tentative.
is listed with Mary Jane having her own story in the hospital, dealing with.
No, but my point is more like it sucks that like we're on this note and then Peter's gonna job to the UFOs next issue.
I like the UFOs.
No, I'm just saying that like compared to like 30 villains plus Kindred, the UFO seems like a kind of a weird hill for Peter to go out on.
They're pretty powerful though. They're pretty powerful in themselves. But that
like, But like one of my biggest problems is that this issue, this singular one, renders all of Sinister War kind of meaningless. Like none of Sinister War, aside from like the first issue, not even the first issue, because all the stuff that was happening in the beginning, it went nowhere. That event meant nothing.
Sinister War literally netted out 4 issues just so we could get to 75. This is where I don't disagree with some of the comments that have been made, and I do want to highlight them because people like Pay were in there making comments. They gave the issue a D. Love after all this, Leader just leaves Norman in with and he didn't learn anything from this mediocre run. No funeral for Harry, and Pete and MJ left the cemetery full of villains. There was 35, he thinks. Why the hell is Ben coming back? Beloved, but they don't even address it, which we'll get to think in the next. I'm just gonna say this about the Christos Gage, Todd Knock. I love Todd Knock's artwork. Christos Gage is hit or miss with me when it comes to that stories. This was completely filler bullshit. I didn't care for it. It's there. It's just there. It's another person helped Ben Parker, and he was an alcoholic. He was a jerk. Ben moved his family out, and Ben was the reason. Ben tried helping him out through the years, and he got his 1-year chip, and he placed it on Ben's grave as a token of his appreciation.
It was filler, but
corny.
it was good filler.
It was
It
corny
wasn't bad
filler, but it was touching.
There's a touching element to it. Let me rephrase. There's a touching element to it, but in the grand
filler.
It was filler. It was to pad some pages, and I mean, even the whole complete history of Spider-Man in 2 pages that was kind of funny. But yeah, and then we'll get to the Janine story. That's the title of it, and we'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, Adam, your thoughts? I haven't given Adam to talk about the main story.
Well, it's hard because I was reading this and it's just like I told you guys earlier. It's hard to process because it's all over the place. It's messy, but I still don't want to give it lower than a B, just because I guess it's everything that came before was solid to great. The art in this issue, I thought all the artists brought it. They were either good or great. The Peter and MJ stuff was excellent. I like that Harry had his heroic moment, even though he was a clone and he's gone. Whatever, that's fine. We're again that's like the final. Well, it's not the final, but it's one of those like Spencer is fixing the book one last time. I don't know. I'm Kindred. I've been thinking for a while. I see all these people. They're like, "Oh, I'm tired of Kindred. I'm tired of Kindred." Now I think it's time. I think we can all kind of take a breath, be glad that Kindred is done, move forward. Hopefully, what's coming next, even though it may be like slightly filler retread stuff with Ben. I think there's going to be some fun stuff there, and I'm optimistic with where the book's going to go in the next 6 months leading up to 900.
I'm just glad there's no more pontificating.
Yes, that is good.
All right.
And I want to say one last thing. But all this stuff with all these retcons and Sins Past and Mephisto, we gotta get this book back to basics, like Spencer did at the very beginning. We have to simplify this continuity stuff. Like, Spider-Man can't keep having all this stuff hanging over him. He's got to be more grounded than this. And hopefully this breather that we're about to have is going to do that, and going forward they're going to keep that up. That's my hope.
So this grade does not reflect anything else. The Janine story for me. This grade purely reflects the main story. Artwork is good. Other than there was one Ferreira, I think, was the one artist that I thought kind of missed. The rest of the artwork was good. I actually like Carlos Gomez. I liked Bagley was great. The thing that kind of bums me out about this issue is that this is Bagley's last issue on ASM for this run, and I just didn't feel like he got to do enough in this issue. I think because of Sinister War and everything like that, I think that just the scheduling, I think it's been telling for the last 6 or 7 issues that we've had to have multiple people to come in and script. I think that these are Nick Spencer's plots. They're not his scripts. The voices don't fit. The MJ and Mary, the Peter stuff, like everybody says, was great. I know I'm kind of recapping what some other people have said, but this is what I really feel. I feel like that this failed to live to the expectations that we had for it 3 months ago. We look at what happened in the past 3 months of stories. It's been very rushed. It's been very convoluted. We're bringing in all these elements at the very last minute. It's been like we're condensing down another 2 months, 3 months worth of stories down into these last. We felt like we got 6 months worth of story in 3 months. I don't think that's debatable at this point. So we don't know what the circumstances are behind the scenes. I'd love to get to get set down with Nick Spencer and Nick Lowe when there's some time, but right now, obviously, we're moving forward in this new era. As a story, I felt like it was a okay conclusion, but it was not the best conclusion, but it was a conclusion nevertheless. Felt like in that realm they stuck the landing, but to leave the things that they've left, to me, and like I said earlier, the end of the story was Peter proposing. That was going to be the end of the story. Everything that you see in the Kindred saga before Last Remains was building towards that. And then
thematically makes sense.
Thematically, the first issue.
It's unfair to the readers that editorial stepped in and nixed it at the very last second because Nick Spencer got a better offer. I'm sorry. That's awful. I'm hoping that we'll get some things during this Ben Reilly stuff. This did fail in one regard. It failed to justify how Ben gets the webs back. It fails to justify it.
Next time,
baby.
The next issue,
Yep.
issue 75, has to stick that landing because right now it's an incomplete story. How do we transition from Peter to Ben? There was a clear reason in Spectacular 229. Peter retired. He's going to go be a dad. Now, we don't know why. So that I'm at with it. Obviously, there's the Scarlet Spider stuff happening in Iron Man, but to me, he's like an ancillary character that you could have inserted any Spidey person in.
I've made a joke in the Satellites reviews that Scarlet Spider in that book is literally just a figment of Iron Man's morphine addiction.
Yeah. I'm going to really briefly, for those that are following along with us, there is a final story. It's 10 pages. It's called Janine. Zeb Wells writes it. Ivan Fernelli does the artwork. We kind of reintroduced to Janine. She is then escorted out to see some mysterious looking guys. We finally get another alien.
Question, Zach. Forgive me. It's been a while. I forgot who Janine was. Now, is she the photographer or the which one was she?
She's the girlfriend in Lost Years and Redemption.
That's right. That's right.
She's
That's
the
right.
one that Ben sort of found during his Lost Years.
That's
At the end of Redemption, Kane trying to kill himself and Ben. Ben fighting with Kane convinced Janine that she needed to go and turn herself in. So she turns herself in for the murder of her father who molested her and abused her and was horrible to her. She murdered him in a fit of rage. So Sarah Porter, aka Janine Gabe, which is
Godby, I think.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
the name she
Godby.
always wants to use. Basically, these mysterious guys are like, look, we work for Beyond Corporation. We have contracts with the municipalities across the country. We rehabilitate offenders with extraordinary abilities and those adjacent to said offenders. Your experience in said matters qualifies you to be placed in a minimum security facility. We think you'll be quite happy while you're helping us assist in your situation. She doesn't understand the situation. And they're like, your experience in said matters. So, Miss Gobe, I'd be remiss not to mention the luxurious data facilities. We've taken great pains, moved heaven and earth to assure you'll be living the life of Reilly.
And I want to point out really quick here. This is Ben's handler. Like they brought the same character.
Yeah, the same character from the Free Comic Book Day issue. He is free.
Wait, talk about that. Do we ever talk about that?
We'll talk about it more. I think we should talk about it more next episode.
Okay. Sorry, I just remembered I just remembered that we hadn't
touched on it, I think, but we really didn't go into extreme detail. So the issue, the final couple of pages are Ben in his new Spider-Man suit, embracing Janine, and they're going home. Of course, and they're like, we hope this was worth it. Of course it was. You can't put a price on job loyalty. To be continued next issue. So, what is Ben Reilly doing back in a spider suit? Maybe you read our Free Comic Book Day story for ASM. If not, run to your LCBS local comic book shop and pray they have some. That's right. Ben is back and in the webs, but how? And what does this mean for Peter? You're going to have to pick up the Amazing Spider-Man 75 next week when the new Uber story Beyond begins. The story is huge. So huge, in fact, they need an even greater story velocity. We're going to go back to a thrice monthly schedule for the next 6 months. Interesting.
Which is interesting. Which is, I guess, to spell it out, that means it's not going to go all the way to 900, because.
So that is interesting. To plan and execute this, we brought together the absolutely amazing team of creators. Beyond Board, they're calling it so brand new day. Anyway. Consistent Zeb Wells, Kelly Thompson, Saladin Ahmed, Cody Ziegler, and Patrick Gleason come together via Zoom last year to plan out Beyond. And our summit in December 2020.
Last year.
December of 2020 was two of the most fun days I can remember having. The story we have in store for you is so full of twists, classic Spidey characters, villains, and heroes, and heart palpitations that you may want to prepay for whatever your coping mechanisms are. Nick Lowe's is... Dip.
Real quick, Paul. Do you think this took? I think this is the mask off moment right here.
Yeah, I 100%. There is that. I didn't read that part, Zach. So I'm actually really. I didn't know it was 3 times a week. That is.
It is 3 times a month. 3 times a month.
Or I mean, yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah, 3 times a month. That and the comment of, December that and the comment. Year. Yeah, the whole idea of like, hey. We all sat down last December, and we figured all this out. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, that makes everything line up.
And this explains where Gleason's been.
Yeah,
because he's only the last book he was on was ASM 62.
Mm-hmm.
Right after Last Remains.
God damn it!
Yeah.
I'll finish with this. And because this is comics, a great story is nothing about the great artists that truly make the scene. Pulling double duty and leading the way for us is Patrick Gleason. Having at least one artist on our board was super. Pat, some of you already know, as a writer from work at the distinguished competition to be a writer and artistic leader was necessary. All caps. Pat is kicking the story off and wrapping it up, but his fellow artists may make up one of the best lineups ever. The art team includes Sarah Pacelli, Sarah Pacelli, Michael Dowling, Carlos Gomez, Jorge Fornez, and Paco Medina. Who's doing the covers for the whole thing? None other than the artistic legend Arthur Adams. Take a look at the Arthur and coloring superstar Alejandro Sanchez's first 3 covers. Turn the page for a preview of the incredible art and issues coming away in the next few months.
You know what really sucks is that like they have a really good art team here. Pat Gleason, Michael Dowling, Carlos Gomez, Sarah Pacheco. Like all of these artists are really, really good, and
Paco
I feel
Medina
nothing.
is good.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know Paco
I
Medina
forgot.
was on it.
I have a major issue just with comics in general with the covers, and I think I didn't mean to cut you off, Zach. I'm sorry, everyone actually, but Neil specifically. I think I know where you're going with this, but I have an issue with the fact that artists right now don't do their own covers. I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand it. I hate it. I'll be honest. Give the artist the cover. Let them do they did the interior art. Let them tell the story in one page. You know.
So here's my no prize answer, and I know you're probably not going to like it, but it's probably the logistical reason. They probably want a consistent front page. They probably want a consistent front. Like even if it's not like the same cover, they want like the outside to have a look by the same person, so it looks artistically consistent. Even though like they're changing the art team like every 2 issues in this for the next 6 months.
So in that case of like not the interior art, but like the arc as a whole, so it's all consistent on the outside. That makes more sense, but it's just a problem I have in comics in general.
So I will say I did like the backup, the Janine backup.
I did too.
I did too. I feel like they're doing kind of a smart job of laying kind of down the foundations of showing the Beyond Corporation. Like they know they want Ben. They're doing like everything in their power to keep him on their good side, on his good side. Yeah. I think that's very good. I guess, foreshadowing.
Can't wait for that to blow up.
Janine dies.
Well.
Right. Jessica Carradine will return, I hope.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Endgame.
All right.
Yes.
All right. I'm just going to have to start wrapping things up. Appreciate everybody being on. I hate to cut this real short because I know, but we'll definitely, next time we record, we will definitely be getting together and talking about Beyond. So the Spencer run, we're putting in our clothes. And I think we've kind of effectively talked about how we feel about it overall. So,
and I'll be working on Spideydude's all new, all different look. Yeah,
we'll have some different covers. I'm going to work on the final cover this weekend for this season, and or just season 2, gentlemen. Like I say again, really appreciate it. We want to thank everybody that contributes to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Spidey Network. It'll probably be 3 weeks, not 2 weeks, before we'll see you again. We want to get all the issues out before we get back and reconvene. So thank you guys all for watching. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook at Spideydude Network. Twitter is at Spideydude Radio. YouTube at Spideydude Radio Network. Voicemail line, if you want to leave us a voicemail, we'll play those probably next episode. 818-925-6631. Once again, everybody, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. For those that are listening to us, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app. If you want to catch these guys and other shows about the Broken Rider Variety Hour, check that out on twitch.tv/QuillSmith. You can also check out the Comic Book YouTube channel. And Make My Mayday will be back Thursdays, 7 p.m. Eastern. Next episode, we're going to be covering the Epic 75th issue. So definitely 75 through 79 is what we're going to be covering in that one. So thanks again. Like I said, go check out Paul at Herman22 on Twitter. You can also follow Adam on Twitter. Greg XB, Voices from the Eerie. Another episode will be coming out the final Friday of every month. So if you want to check out episode 2, you can always go to patreon.com/Spidey Network. Guys, thank you all again. Hate to cut it short, but we will talk to you soon.